Chapter 789. The stench of blood permeated the air as endless savagery was unleashed. Slaughter was taking place one after another, densely packed together. There were cheetahs with shiny golden fur, giant crocodiles with bronze bodies, wild boars with steel spikes all over their bodies, giant snakes that were hundreds of meters long, green, white, tricolored, five-colored, and all sorts of other colors. Bang, bang, bang. Boom, boom, boom. Battles were taking place everywhere. There were loud sounds of collisions and screams everywhere. Where did so many demonic beasts come from? Jindwadwa's scalp went numb. He felt as if he had barged into a demonic beast lair. Have the demonic region, sea demons, and Emperor Island's demonic beasts allied? The silver wolf's pupils also shrank. They should have. The sea demons are the most numerous. Cao Ju was extremely worried. I'm afraid that every passage has been sealed by the demonic beasts. They plan to slaughter the humans and occupy Emperor Island, or delay our progress. They must be up to something big. As soon as Cao Ju finished speaking, a sharp scream pierced their ears. They looked up and saw multicolored giant rats suddenly emerging from the ground. They were so fast that it was terrifying. What was even more terrifying was that they were densely packed together. They suddenly rushed out and killed many people in an instant. Their mouths were full of sharp teeth that were stained with blood. They were very ferocious. Many giant rats were chewing and swallowing people alive. Snakes, so many poisonous snakes. Panicked screams sounded from another area. In the wilderness, there were suddenly wriggling movements. It was thousands of snakes that were crazily rushing over. This scene made Chu Yang's scalp go numb. The people there kept attacking, but the snakes were too densely packed. It was as if there was no end to them. Moreover, there were many small silver snakes hidden among the snakes. They were originally hidden in the void, but now they rushed out like lightning. Their killing power was terrifying. Kai kai kai, the small silver snakes were like flying swords or flying knives. They directly pierced through people's foreheads. All of them were fatal with one strike. In a moment, countless people had died. Boom, boom, boom. There were a few places where the battle was extremely intense. Sounds of heaven and earth shattering could be heard. Chu Yang and the others looked over. They were surprised to see Hai Sheng-hai, the 4 crown princes, the 2 divine sons of the Longhu sect, and the 7-star saint in a fierce battle. Hai Sheng-hai was fighting a huge black ape. The ape pounded its chest and howled. It had immense strength and was incomparably brutal. It directly tore apart the curtain formed by Hai Sheng-hai's ocean-breaking fist and went straight for Hai Sheng-hai. A woo! A wolf's howl shook the heavens as a bronze-colored wolf appeared. Its flesh and blood had turned into bronze, and its head seemed to be carved out of stone. It only had one eye, and it was fighting fiercely against the Wei Kingdom's crown prince. Wherever its eye swept past, everything was petrified. At this moment, the crown prince of Wei Nation's face was as hideous as a ferocious ghost as he fought with all his might. Half of his body had already been petrified. Rumble. A giant steel boar the size of a mountain with snow-white fangs like broadswords charged forward. Nothing could stop it as it battled the 7-star divine son. Unable to defeat the 7-star divine child, it suddenly curled its head and tail into a ball and began to spin. Behind it, it was like a giant wheel, slicing towards the 7-star divine child. The other 3 princes and the divine princes of the Longhu sect were also engaged in fierce battles. All 8 of them were at a disadvantage. These 8 demonic beasts were all demonic beasts of the Soul Wheel realm. They were the demonic beasts of the Emperor Island. Although the Emperor Island opened this time and their realms were suppressed to the Soul Wheel realm and above, the demonic beasts of the Emperor Island were less affected. Therefore, even if these 8 demonic beasts were suppressed, they could still maintain their Soul Wheel realm cultivation. This was also because Hai Sheng-hai and the others were extraordinary. After their realms fell to the Soul Wheel realm, they could still fight against the Soul Wheel realm. Run. Many people couldn't hold on any longer. Too many of them had never experienced such a bloody and brutal scene. Some of them had already started to break down. They tried to escape from the Emperor Island, but how could they succeed? They were all surrounded and blocked off. Panic spread. As a portion of the people fled, the scene festered even more and collapsed completely. Everyone started to flee. This premeditated massacre by the demonic beasts was too sudden. Not to mention other things, even Chu Yang was caught off guard. "Keek, lowly humans, you must be frightened. Look, you've all turned into fools." Chapter 790. Chu Yang glanced over. There was a smell of blood in front of him, and the corpses on the ground were piled up into a small hill. A peacock was standing on the pile of corpses. Its feathers were bright, as if it was made of colorful metal. It was 30 to 40 meters long, which was not too exaggerated. However, some demonic beast strength was not necessarily proportional to their size. This peacock was actually about to break through to the soul wheel realm under the pressure of the restrictions on the island. Obviously, this was also a demonic beast that grew up on the island. Chu Yang didn't say anything. Cao Ju and the others didn't say anything either. "Are you all scared out of your wits or deaf? I gave you a chance to live, but you don't know how to cherish it." This peacock's eyes were sharp as it stared at Chu Yang and the others. Then, its blade-like gaze landed on Chu Yang. "This child's flesh is very tender and looks very delicious. I've decided to eat you," it immediately ordered Cao Ju. Cao Ju was the strongest among them. "The one who is fat but not fat, didn't you hear me? Fat but not fat," Cao Ju described it very accurately. "Haha." Chu Yang couldn't help but laugh. His childish voice resounded through the entire place. Suddenly, everyone couldn't help but fall silent as they all looked over. "What are you laughing at?" Being looked down upon by a human child, this peacock felt that it had lost all its face. Its cold voice was like a blade that came from its throat. "You've never eaten a human before, right?" Chu Yang smiled innocently. His smile was very bright, and he asked very seriously, "Newborn calves are not afraid of tigers. You humans have a saying that describes people like you, right? You're quite brave to be able to laugh after seeing me." The peacock's voice became even colder. It used the phrase "newborn calves are not afraid of tigers" to cover up the provocation of its dignity. Everyone present, no matter if they were in a fierce battle or running away, when they saw Chu Yang's delicate little face, their expressions became extremely strange. The demonic beasts of the demon region also couldn't help but be stunned when they saw Chu Yang. They had heard that this seemed to be a so-called young master who was extremely ferocious. "Do you all have a death wish? What are you all looking at?" Peacock felt humiliated. She roared angrily as her pupils shot out terrifying beams of light. However, it was surprised to find that although these humans were afraid, they were still watching. It was as if that little brat had some kind of magical power. "Were you the one who killed the bunch of people you're stepping on?" Chu Yang asked with a smile. Peacock was furious. "Lowly food, what right do you have to question me? Get over here and let me eat you. Otherwise, I'll make you beg for death. You've never eaten a human, and I've never eaten a peacock." Chu Yang knew that a war with the demon race was unavoidable, so he decisively said proudly, "Although I don't have any bad feelings towards peacocks, especially since my cultivation method is somewhat related to peacocks, I don't hate peacocks, but who asked you to fulfill my conditions?" He smiled and looked at the peacock. "I'm definitely eating peacock wings today. Peacock, come to my bowl. You're asking for death." The peacock was furious. It actually asked him to come to the bowl. It completely went berserk. With a swoosh, it raised a huge 5-colored claw. The rainbow light was dazzling and terrifying. It was like a fierce sword unsheathed from its scabbard. It clawed at Chu Yang. If it was a normal person, with the peacock's strength, they would have been torn to pieces by this huge 5-colored claw. But it was facing Chu Yang. Chapter 791. Hee hee. Chu Yang smirked. "I'm relieved to see you like this. Otherwise, if I eat you and the peacock bright monarch asks me why I eat peacocks, I won't be able to answer." With a whoosh, he shot up into the sky at extreme speed like a bolt of lightning. It was not something an ascending soul realm cultivator could resist. In an instant, he was in front of the peacock. His hand was very small, but it was like strangling a chicken or a duck. He grabbed the peacock's neck and lifted it up. The peacock struggled with all its might, but it was to no avail. Its legs were like human legs, galloping in the air. It stuck out its tongue and rolled its eyes. Crack! Chu Yang exerted some strength with his little hand and broke its neck. Then, he lifted it up in the air. The small body of an 8 or 9-year-old was completely disproportionate to the peacock that was dozens of meters long. What was going on? All the demonic beasts were dead silent. The demonic beasts of the demon region were still fine. After all, they had heard of the little young master's ferocious name. However, the sea demons and the demonic beasts of Emperor Island were completely stunned. Many of the people present also looked at the young figure in astonishment. Why? Am I not impressive enough? As he spoke, he curled his lips. That's true. It's just a stupid peacock. How can I be impressive? The little young master rules Emperor Island. His magical powers are vast and boundless. The little young master rules Emperor Island. His magical powers are boundless and his lifespan is as long as the heavens. The little young master rules Emperor Island. Everyone is stunned. He will unify Emperor Island and last for thousands of years. Kaoju, Jinduo, and the Silver Wolf were very self-aware. They took the lead and shouted. Following them, the people of the Five Elements sect also shouted. Then, everyone present cheered. They were very excited. With a little demon like Chu Yang here, it would be difficult for the demonic beasts of Emperor Island to kill them. Rule Emperor Island. His magical powers are vast and his magical powers are boundless. He will unify Emperor Island and last for thousands of years. What a joke, hiss. A huge snake that was dozens of meters thick and hundreds of meters long leaped. With a bang, it broke a mountain and threw off several huge snake bodies. It rushed over while spitting out a fishy smell. The ground rumbled. Heavens! After seeing this scene, many people's hearts trembled. These giant snakes were too terrifying. You don't know what you're talking about. You're about to die, yet you still dare to be so arrogant. At the same time, a bird cry resounded in midair. A falcon with a large body and legs spread out completely covered the sky. It was as fast as lightning as it streaked across the sky. Chu Yang didn't take it seriously at all. He smiled and said, I dawdled and brought the firewood, rice, oil, salt, and pots and pans. Isn't it wise? Take these and prepare this peacock. I want to eat peacock wings later. With that, he tossed the peacock to Kaoju and the rest. Rumble. At this time, the giant snake had already rushed over. Its huge mouth seemed to be able to swallow a mountain. The poisonous fog it spat out was sizzling, and white smoke billowed in the air. It seemed to be able to corrode the void. Poisonous bug, are you planning to disgust me to death so that you can inherit my reputation? Whoosh! Chu Yang controlled a gust of wind to blow away the poisonous fog. With a swoosh, he shot under the giant snake's head and punched down with his small fist. With a loud thud, the giant snake's head fell to the ground uncontrollably. Dust rose into the air. The snake's head exploded, and brain matter and blood splattered everywhere. It was as if a mountain had been smashed into pieces. This scene was too impactful. Such a ferocious giant snake, but in front of that young body, in front of that small white fist, it was like a piece of paper. Instantly, a tsunami of cheers rang out again. The young master rules Emperor Island. His magical powers are vast and his magical powers are boundless. The young master rules Emperor Island. His magical powers are boundless and his lifespan is as long as the heavens. Chapter 792. Catcher. That hawk had arrived. Its sharp claws tore through the void as it slashed down. At the same time, it shot out a bolt of lightning. This stupid snake can make snake soup, but what can a stupid hawk like you do? I already have peacock wings. I don't need hawk wings anymore. Chu Yang was displeased. Since you took the initiative to send yourself to my bowl, it means that you are the one who is going to make me die of disgust. Therefore, I have decided that hawks and hawks will be at the bottom of my delicious cuisine rankings. Dong. The sky-blotting eagle was fast, but Chu Yang's speed was even faster. With a swoosh sound, he arrived above the eagle. Then, he also used a small fist, and smashed this huge eagle to the ground. Brain matter splattered everywhere. Clang, clang, clang. Immediately after, he raised his hand. Golden light flashed, and the sound of metal rang out from his small palm. It was unknown when, but a woodpecker that was very small, less than a foot long, but its entire body was silver as if it was forged from metal. Its body was incomparably tough, and it launched a sneak attack silently. Its beak was especially shocking. It was long and sharp, flowing with silver light and emitting a cold light. It felt as if it could pierce through anything. However, once it came into contact with Chu Yang's small hand, it trembled. The beak cracked like a piece of porcelain, and the cracks were densely packed as it fell off. The woodpecker was dumbfounded. "Silly bird, what are you doing?" Chu Yang's small hand slapped down, and this woodpecker was instantly crushed into meat paste. Such a ferocious performance shocked all the demonic beasts of the demon region, the demon race of the Emperor Island, and the sea demons. They were all frightened. The 8 soul reincarnation realm demonic beasts that were fighting with Hai Shanghai, the 4 princes, and the others couldn't help but look over at this moment. Their eyes were filled with ferocity. "What are you looking at? Hurry up and kneel down, beg for mercy, and shout the slogan of this young master." Chu Yang pointed at them. "I'm talking about that wolf, that pig, and that monkey. I haven't used my heaven-blessed martial prowess yet. Otherwise, I'll scare you guys to death." After saying that, he bit his finger and muttered, "It's impressive to scare me to death, but if these things lose their guts, won't their meat be very bitter? Then, won't they be at the bottom of my gourmet rankings? How can I let down wolf meat and pork meat like this? You're courting death." Rumble. The steel boar's body curled up and turned into a huge steel ball. It rolled over and smashed toward them. "Stop!" A cold voice suddenly rang out. When it heard this voice, the huge steel pig stopped attacking and glared fiercely at Chu Yang. "You're the young master that the little gold rock king was talking about." The voice came from the lake that was filled with dense spiritual energy. Everyone looked for a long time, but they did not see the demon that made the sound. Only when the monster flew out of the lake and landed in the air did the crowd see what it looked like. No one knew what kind of monster it was. Perhaps it was a snake, perhaps it was a flood dragon, or perhaps it was a real dragon. It was no more than a meter long, with a white snake head, a green flood dragon head, and a golden dragon head. At this moment, the flood dragon head and the golden dragon head had their eyes closed as if they were sleeping. Only the white snake head was shining brightly like a white sun. On the snake head, white flames were dancing. Naturally, this wasn't the reason why everyone felt suffocated. There were all kinds of demons. The reason why everyone felt suffocated was that this snake dragon-like demon was actually at the soul reincarnation realm 3rd level. Under the suppression of the Emperor Island, it was actually at the soul reincarnation realm 3rd level. If it wasn't suppressed by the Emperor Island, wouldn't it be a spirit stage demon beast? Obviously, it was also a demon beast from the Emperor Island. Otherwise, even if it was at the spirit stage, it would be suppressed below the soul reincarnation realm. Chapter 793. You are the young master that the little gold rock king was talking about. Evidently, the little golden rock king had already seen this monster with a snake head, a flood dragon head, and a dragon head. However, there was no point in killing it. The monsters of the demon territory, the sea monsters, and the monsters of Emperor Island had teamed up to hunt humans. This meant that they had a close relationship with each other. Haha, the sky flashed, and I made my grand entrant. Chu Yang looked at the monsters and nodded in satisfaction. I'm very satisfied with this entrance. The demon race has created a good atmosphere for you. I give you a compliment. The demon race had surrounded the hunter race just to create an opportunity for him to make his entrance. How narcissistic could he be to say something like that? Everyone present, both humans and monsters, was deeply impressed by Chu Yang's shamelessness. The three-headed snake, let's call it the three-headed snake for now. It also caused all the humans and demons to be astonished. Thank you for your compliment, young master. The three-headed snake's white snake head actually smiled, and even seemed to be flattering him. This was not important. What was important was that the three-headed snake actually admitted it. The monsters were originally waiting for the three-headed snake to deal with Chu Yang. They were also very nervous, extremely worried that Chu Yang would not be a match for the three-headed snake. There should have been a great battle, or the three-headed snake could kill Chu Yang unilaterally. But in the end, it turned out like this. They had seen a ghost. They had really seen a ghost. Both humans and monsters were dumbfounded. What was going on? Chu Yang was also caught off guard by such flattery. He thought to himself, is the Gongsun family's name so terrifying that all living things tremble in fear and become lackeys and servants? Young master's satisfaction is my unswerving pursuit. Hearing this, Chu Yang glared. This was not his famous saying, but it came from his mouth. The three-headed snake also knew. No, this was a famous saying of its idol, Chu Yang. It almost exposed itself. Chu Yang thought for a long time but still could not figure it out. He suddenly said, "That thing, are you a snake, a flood dragon, or a dragon? You have 3 heads, and I'm confused. It shows my ignorance. You are guilty. I deserve to die." When the three-headed serpent spoke again, everyone couldn't help but be stunned once more, and they were all speechless. "You piece of shit, I'm asking you to introduce yourself. Can't you understand human language? Young master, I should be called the triple change snake, also known as the 3 tribulations snake. After 3 changes, I become a dragon. Triple change snake." Chu Yang couldn't help but be startled. He felt that this so-called triple transformation snake was perhaps extraordinary. His constitution was that of a mortal, a Xian Tian spirit, and then a chaotic creature. Wasn't this also equivalent to 3 transformations? His physique's 3 transformations were extremely shocking. It was accompanied by the 3rd transformation of the primitive martial arts, the 3rd transformation of the Chi soul, and the 3rd transformation of the ascended soul. This bullshit triple transformation snake was born with this kind of talent. So you're saying that you were born with the ability to reach the 3rd transformation of the Sha martial arts, the 3rd transformation of the Chi soul, and the 3rd transformation of the ascending soul? Chu Yang asked directly. His question scared everyone half to death. If this monster in front of them was born with the ability to reach the 3rd transformation of the origin martial realm, the 3rd transformation of the Chi soul, and the 3rd transformation of the ascended soul, then it was too terrifying. Therefore, they were like Chu Yang, waiting for the triple change snake's answer. Young master is joking. My 3 changes are only the 3 stages of transforming from a snake into a dragon. How can it be as amazing as young master said? This stupid snake is lying to me. Is it bullying my intelligence? Chu Yang couldn't tell if this was true or false. He reckoned that this lousy snake wouldn't tell the truth. Anyway, his nerves were completely taut at this moment. He realized that he was no longer unique. The pressure suddenly became incomparably huge. I say, that thing, are you telling the truth or lying? Chapter 794. Phew. Chu Yang pretended to be scared to death. He patted his chest with his little hand as if he was comforting his frightened little heart. Thank goodness you didn't do it. You did it, but I didn't. Isn't that embarrassing? No, you might be lying to me. Chu Yang poked the triple transformation snake and shouted angrily, "Hey, you, for safety's sake, kill yourself immediately, lest you overshadow your master." The triple transformation snake finally understood what it meant to be willful. The lousy kid in front of it really thought that the world would be destroyed because of him. Young master, I'll die now. Whoosh. The triple transformation snake's body swayed, and like a flash of lightning, it flew into the depths of Emperor Island and disappeared directly. It escaped. It actually escaped. It seemed to be the leader of the demons, but it escaped just like that. Everyone was completely dumbfounded, and they couldn't understand the situation in front of them. Then, the demons seemed to have received an order and quickly retreated. The sky was full of flying demonic beasts, and the earth was shaking. As the demonic beasts ran, it seemed like the earth was going to collapse. Lousy kid, even if you die, you have to die in front of me, or else I won't be at ease. Chu Yang stomped his feet, but he didn't dare to chase after it. The situation in front of him was too strange. Before he figured it out, he didn't dare to act rashly. Then, When he saw the demons running away, he immediately shouted, "That ape! Yes, I'm talking about you, the biggest one. Why don't you stay and let me eat your ape brain?" This giant ape was the one that had fought with Hai Shanghai just now. When it heard that Chu Yang wanted to eat its brain, it suddenly became ferocious. It turned around and roared angrily. "I know you're very happy that I'm eating your ape brain, and you're very honored, but don't be so happy." Everyone was shocked, and the giant ape was so angry that it breathed out 2 streams of air from its nose. However, it roared angrily and glared at Chu Yang fiercely. Then, it rumbled away and disappeared in a moment. Obviously, this ape wasn't afraid of Chu Yang, but it had to follow orders. Flap, flap, flap. In the distance, a large white dove rushed out, releasing terrifying fluctuations as it flew over. "Xiao bye bye, don't go. I haven't had white pigeon soup for a long time. It's your turn tonight. Come into the soup. You're not allowed to leave, you black and swarthy thing. I'll eat bear paws, so leave my bear paws behind." Chu Yang soared into the sky, preparing to catch the white pigeon and make it into a white pigeon soup. However, he saw a strange black bear in the distance. It had a horn on its forehead, and lightning flashed on it. He felt that this black bear was definitely extraordinary, and its paws were definitely peerless. He immediately changed his mind. The group of demons fled in all directions, being chased by a young figure. Everyone was already in chaos. Was this so-called young master too valiant, or was this matter too strange? Originally, the demons were hunting them down, but Chu Yang's appearance turned the situation around. These demonic beasts were too much of a joke, weren't they? Did they think that everything they had done was a joke? They killed so many people. Did they think that they would have an easy time and that the human race wouldn't take revenge? Everyone couldn't figure it out. In fact, Chu Yang couldn't figure it out either. He was also very confused. His mind had been stirred into a paste. This matter was too strange. Even if Chu Yang was the son of some big shot in the East Continent, it shouldn't be so strange. If they had scruples, they could completely ignore him, or restrain him, and then slaughter everyone. "My head hurts. I don't care anymore. I'll catch a few and eat them first. Otherwise, if I just shout and don't do anything, it's not in line with my style of being a little demon king." He had to hide his identity first. Chapter 795. Swoosh. Chu Yang was extremely fast and appeared behind the black bear in an instant. Such speed made the black bear's body tremble violently. This brat was indeed not simple. It abruptly turned around, and its whole body shone with black light. Lightning flashed incessantly, and a huge black thunderbolt rumbled, as if it was the thunder of the world, and struck towards Chu Yang. Then, 4 thunderclouds appeared under its bare paws, lifting it up. Like a streak of lightning, it rushed over. With hong-long-long sounds, it continuously broke apart several ancient trees and several mountaintops, possessing extreme speed. "Ah, my bare paw, you can't escape." Chu Yang withstood this blow. With a whizzing sound, he caught up with the black bear in an instant. Then, the black bear screamed again. Surprisingly, Chu Yang had chopped off one of its paws. "Xiao bai, I said I'll make soup out of you tonight. Can you escape?" Chu Yang soared into the sky, and chased after the white pigeon that was fleeing towards the horizon. That white dove cried angrily in the sky, and immediately went berserk. The sky was filled with white flame patterns, and the pure white feathers all over its body actually burst out with white flames that filled the sky, and poured down towards Chu Yang like a torrential flood. It was a vast expanse of white, and madly surged down from the sky. The heat wave was scorching, and the scene was extremely terrifying. "Xiao bai, it's your honor to be able to make my white dove soup. You dare to resist." Chu Yang took out the yin-yang 4 symbols vase. With a thought, the fire was like a flood. It covered the sky and earth and was sucked in immediately. "Screech," the white dove cried sadly, and its voice was filled with fear because the yin-yang 4 symbols vase had locked onto it and was about to suck it into the vase. It struggled with all its might, and the white flames on its body burned even more fiercely. It fully displayed its innate ability and tried to use its speed to increase by several times to pull it out. However, It was useless and was sucked into the yin-yang 4 symbols vase. Hehe, Xiao Bai, I said you can't escape. Chu Yang then took out the white pigeon from the yin-yang 4 symbols vase, knocked it out, and threw it to Cao Ju and the others. At this moment, everyone present was dumbfounded. Chu Yang's terror had far exceeded their imaginations. Every monster he targeted was definitely not below the 8th layer of the ascending soul tier. They were all extremely powerful, but in front of him, they were pitifully weak. They had truly all been reduced to food. In the distance, in a mountainous area, the first demonic beast to escape saw this scene and could not help but secretly rejoice. Luckily, I escaped first. This so-called young master was even more ferocious than them. He wanted to eat everything. The demonic beasts that were running away in this area all felt their hair stand on end. They ran even more fiercely. For a moment, the earth shook, the grass and trees shook, leaves flew, boulders flew, and trees were knocked down. Ah, hairy crabs. I forgot that you can eat seafood. When Chu Yang saw a crab demonic beast laughing, his saliva almost flowed out. The crab demonic beast was so shocked that it rolled over. Just as it was about to escape, it was already sucked into the yin-yang 4 symbols vase. What a good golden sheep. The roasted lamb leg will definitely be good. A golden, dazzling single-horned sheep staggered and almost fainted. After hearing this, it kicked its hind legs and ran wildly, but it was still sucked into the yin-yang 4 symbols vase. Pork, how can there be no pork? I eat pork the most often. Those that flew in the sky, those that ran on the ground, those that swam in the sea. After Chu Yang sucked them in for a while, he quickly stared at the stronger demonic beasts. The pig demonic beast that was fighting with 7-star god was immediately targeted by him. Boom. This pig demonic beast was not afraid of Chu Yang, but because of the order, it did not continue to attack, so it only retreated and did not escape. At this time, Chu Yang caught up and said that he wanted to eat it. It was so angry that smoke was coming out of its 7 orifices. However, that small body fell heavily, and it was very heavy. It did not notice and immediately fell to the ground. It was firmly held down by Chu Yang. Hey, is a human-pig romance going to happen? I'm just saying, can you guys think about the effects of this pair of you? It was an extremely crisp and pleasant voice, but when it fell into his ears, Chu Yang's vision went black, and he almost fell. Which bastard, what kind of eyes are you looking at me with? I'll fall in love with a pig like you. Chapter 796. It should be a human. His face seemed to have been carved out of a metal plate. It was stiff, sharp, and emotionless. His face was golden, and so was his entire body. He looked like a metal man. There seemed to be a parrot on his shoulder. The black, red, and blue fur on his body were evenly distributed. Chu Yang didn't notice when this person appeared. When he noticed, he found that there was no fluctuation of life in this person. Maybe his life force was restrained to the extreme, and there was no trace of life force leaking out. If it was the latter, it was really terrifying. So, Chu Yang couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. At this moment, the tricolored parrot on the person's shoulder was looking at Chu Yang from the corner of its eyes. It said, "What? What I said was wrong. The sky is the blanket, and the earth is the bed. This is not wrong. But there are so many people here. How can that sow live if you do this?" Chu Yang had been on guard with rapt attention. But, he staggered and almost fell down as soon as he heard this. Then, black lines appeared on his small face, and his eyes seemed as if they could spurt out fire. He wished he could strangle this parrot to death. "Let go of that sow, let me do it." The parrot's voice was very loud, and the sudden shout made Chu Yang fall to the ground directly. Roar. The pig monster had already turned over and stood up, white smoke coming out of its nose. Rumble. It was completely angry. It didn't care about the so-called order, and didn't care about the so-called young master. It directly rushed over, and the fangs in its mouth were more than 2 meters long, as bright as a long knife, and it rushed toward Chu Yang. This pig monster was the size of a small mountain, and when it ran, the earth shook and the mountains shook, making rumbling sounds. Chu Yang was angry, so he directly used brute force. Bang, Bang, bang. The fierce collision echoed in the mountain, and dust rose into the sky. The mountain rocks were broken, and the trees were broken. The scene was very terrifying. Although the pig monster was very tough, with white smoke coming out of its mouth and nose, and sharp fangs, Chu Yang was more ferocious, and his small fists sent it flying again and again. Hey, the foreplay between a human and a pig is really wonderful. I finally know why you like it. It must be because its skin is rough, and its flesh is tough, and it can satisfy your special preferences. What kind of stupid bird was this? Why was its mouth even more despicable than his? Chu Yang's vision went black, and he almost died from anger. But I like it. My taste is heavy too. Seriously, let go of that sow and let me do it. Dong. Chu Yang secretly used the third cycle of the primitive martial technique and the third cycle of the Chi Soul to kill the pig demon with a single punch. However, before he could glare at it, the voice of the damned bird rang out again. You have no conscience. As the saying goes, a night as husband and wife means endless devotion. How can you hate and be so ruthless? Shua. Chu Yang was infuriated. He had always been the one to make up stories about others, but today, he was actually being made up stories by a broken bird. He shot over like a bolt of lightning, his speed extremely fast. Ayo, my friend, can you not be so anxious? The tricolor parrot let out a strange cry, which made Chu Yang stumble and fall to the ground, creating a large crater. Friend, can you not be so anxious? She said she would be nice to you, so she will definitely be nice to you. So, what is going on with you? Your beloved wife is dead, and you are heartbroken. You will also have to rest in the ground. Haha. Cao Ju, the silver wolf, and Jin Duo were laughing so hard that their stomachs hurt. Chu Yang's little face turned even darker, but he didn't say anything because the more he said, the darker it would become. He didn't make a move immediately because the golden man was looking down at him, making him feel a great sense of danger. Boom. Then, this person directly made his move. He stomped his foot, and the ground surged like a wave. It was as if a sky-shattering wave was surging over. Boom. Chu Yang also stomped his foot and used his earth physique and primal chaos earth essence. The most basic earth profundity erupted, and a chaotic yellow color surged out from his body. Chapter 797. Rumble. When the two clashed, it was as if two huge waves had crashed into each other, causing an even higher and fiercer wave to surge up. In the middle of the collision, dust rose up into the sky like smoke signals. At this moment, the ground undulated like a vast ocean. The place where the battle took place was covered by endless dust. No one knew what was happening inside, and it didn't fall down for a long time. Who exactly is this person? He is actually so terrifying. Cao Ju was shocked. With Chu Yang's strength and the fact that his cultivation level was suppressed on the Emperor Island, there were very few people who could be his match. Boss, don't worry about it. Jin Duo curled his lips and said, don't you know whose son he is? He is so ferocious. Who can take care of that bastard? Chu Yang's identity was confirmed to be the son of some big shot in the East Continent. Jin Duo actually accepted this fact in his heart, but he was still more willing to call Chu Yang his little nephew. That's right. Who is our little nephew? He is so resourceful and has boundless magic power. His appearance scared all the demons out of their wits. Silver Wolf also said with a smile, but his brows were tightly knitted. There must be a reason behind this abnormality. Today's incident was a little strange, and he couldn't figure out what was going on. Oh my god, that's so shocking. Is that young master really only at the soul reincarnation realm? I think he already has the strength of the soul reincarnation realm. Didn't you see that pig demon? It was at the soul reincarnation realm, but it was killed by a single punch from young master. That's true. As expected of someone from the East Continent. Our eastern wilderness can't be compared to him. Everyone was shocked and started to discuss. Then, they started to discuss Chu Yang's current opponent. Who was the person who attacked young master just now? Who knows? There are many strange things happening today. Anyway, it's fine as long as he's a human and not a demon. That's right. If he's not a demon, We shouldn't be in danger. Rumble. Then, everyone felt the ground under their feet suddenly tremble. Huge chunks of earth shot up into the sky one after another, finally forming a huge ball, like a star suspended in mid-air. A large crater appeared on the ground. Shockingly, it was no longer possible to see Chu Yang's small body and the golden figure. Clearly, the two of them had been wrapped up in the sphere. Everyone raised their heads to look at the huge sphere in midair. Their eyes were filled with shock. What kind of power was this? It was simply shocking. It had completely exceeded everyone's imagination. At that moment, in addition to them, there were also many pairs of eyes in the dark that were witnessing this astonishing scene before them. The burning sky holy son of the Five Elements sect, the so-called son of the sect master of the Five Elements sect, Jun Zhongtian, was watching this scene from a dark corner. Young master, is the guardian of Emperor Island testing that young master? The burning sky holy son's tone to Jun Zhongtian was very humble, like a servant facing his master. Perhaps no one could have imagined that a holy son of the Five Elements sect would willingly become a slave. Sort of. Jun Zhongtian muttered to himself. His eyes looked at the huge sphere in midair, and he was somewhat absent-minded. Then, a fierce look appeared on his handsome face. He said fiercely, even if he passed the preliminary recognition of the Guardian and obtained the mark of the Eastern Wilderness Tower, no one can take away the Jun family's thing. The Jun family's things. This sentence contained news that could shake the entire Eastern Wilderness. Jun Zhongtian was actually the descendant of the great emperor of the Eastern Wilderness. The Eastern Wilderness Tower was in the Eastern Wilderness continent. It was a portable treasure of the great emperor of the Eastern Wilderness. After the great emperor of the Eastern Wilderness died, the Eastern Wilderness Tower disappeared along with Emperor Island. Chapter 798. Jun Zhongtian was the descendant of the great emperor of the Eastern Wilderness. In the Eastern Wilderness, this was a glorious identity, but why did he have to conceal his identity? If the sect master of the Five Elements sect was Jun Zhongtian's father, then could the sect master of the Five Elements sect also be the descendant of the great emperor of the Eastern Wilderness? Jun Zhongtian only lost control of his emotions for a moment, then he calmed down. Then let this so-called little young master, desolate demon young master, and that so-called child of the sea god fight first. When both of them are injured, then it will be time for me to make my move. Young master, until now, that bastard Chu Yang still hasn't shown himself. When the burning heaven saint son mentioned Chu Yang, his expression was extremely bitter. I'm afraid he has the same idea as young master. What's more troublesome is that this so-called little young master admires Chu Yang greatly. When the time comes, when the two of them join forces, we won't be their match at all. Although the burning heaven saint son detested Chu Yang to the point of resentment and hatred, he had to admit that Chu Yang was extremely terrifying. He actually single-handedly overturned the Soul Devourer clan and the Thousand Demon sect, and even acted recklessly in the Sea Demon City, humiliating the Demon clan and the 4 nations and 3 sects. He, the burning heaven saint son, couldn't do such a thing. The young master he spoke of, with his current strength, absolutely couldn't do such a thing. Chu Yang. Jun Zhongtian's handsome face was suddenly covered in a haze. Chu Yang had always been the one he was most worried about. Compared to this so-called little young master, Chu Yang was elusive. In the dark, he was even more difficult to guard against. Moreover, he was also very shocked by Chu Yang's ability. This so-called little young master in front of him had extremely shocking battle strength, but in his opinion, Chu Yang was definitely a level higher. Especially, Chu Yang was also an array master, a 4th-rank array master. Young master, between this little young master and Chu Yang, one of them must be eliminated first. Otherwise, we won't be able to deal with their alliance at all. The burning sky holy sun suggested. Although we can't be 100% sure that this young master is from the East continent, and that he is the son of some big shot in the East continent, but based on his behavior, we can't be too far off the mark. Jun Zhongtian furrowed his brows. He was very worried. If we kill this young master, I'm afraid there will be no end of trouble in the future. Young master, who would have thought that we were the ones who killed them? The burning sky holy sun said again, if this young master dies, the big shots of the East Continent will take their anger out on them. The monster realm, the 4 nations, the 3 sects, and the sea demons will also suffer. Zhang Zhongtian was still full of misgivings. He frowned and said, "You're thinking too simply. The abilities of those big shots are far beyond your imagination. This method is very risky." "Young master," the burning heaven holy sun insisted, "young master, if you think this way, then the desolate demon prince and the son of the sea god probably think this way as well. This way, no one will target this so-called young master. If this continues, it's very likely that this young master will obtain the Eastern Wilderness Tower in the end. If that Chu Yang didn't let him succeed, would he give the Eastern Wilderness Tower to that young master?" Although Zhang Zhongtian said this, his expression had already changed. Naturally, this question was not easy to answer. After thinking for a while, the burning sky holy sun said in a deep voice, "Young master, it's very possible." "You're saying that it's very possible?" Suddenly, Zhang Zhongtian's eyes became incomparably sharp as he stared at the burning sky holy sun. "Are you saying that the Eastern Wilderness Tower is worthless?" "Young master, that's definitely not what I mean." "Then what do you mean?" Zhang Zhongtian was clearly very sensitive, especially when it came to the Eastern Wilderness Tower and the great emperor of the Eastern Wilderness. The burning sky holy sun explained with some fear, "Young master, I'm only making this judgment based on that bastard Chu Yang's big brother's character." "The peerless holy sun?" "Yes." The burning sky holy sun's voice turned cold. "It's the peerless holy sun, Chu Fei. I don't understand Chu Yang, but I understand this Chu Fei. Chu Fei is very loyal. If his friend obtains the Eastern Wilderness Tower, he definitely won't steal it." Zhang Zhongtian already understood the burning sky holy sun's meaning. Chu Fei and Chu Yang were 2 brothers and had similar natures. It was very likely that they would make the same choice. This way, what the burning sky holy sun was worried about was very likely to happen. Let's see if this so-called young master can obtain the guardian's recognition first. Zhang Zhongtian had already been convinced by the burning sky holy sun. Chapter 799. Who are you? Chu Yang sized up the person in front of him again. He had a metal-like face without any emotions, temperature, or life. His body was emitting golden light that was abnormally cold. It was like absolute zero. When the light landed on his body, he felt like he was going to be frozen. Chu Yang couldn't be sure if this person in front of him was a human or not. Although he had the appearance and body of a human, he couldn't sense his origin energy. To be able to condense such a huge sphere and control the Emperor Island as he wished, this wasn't something a Soul Wheel Realm expert could do. Chu Yang was definitely not a match for him. Guardian of the Emperor Island. Guardian of the Emperor Island. When these words entered his ears, it was like a clap of thunder. Chu Yang was shocked. These words contained too much information. "You were the one who repelled the demons." Chu Yang was finally enlightened about the abnormal behavior of the demon race. "What do you mean by repelling them?" "They're just looking for me." The guardian's voice wasn't metallic, but there was definitely no trace of emotions. "What?" Chu Yang's eyes narrowed. They had slaughtered so many people just to force the guardian to appear. No, this wasn't forcing. No matter how many people died, the guardian probably wouldn't appear. This was a way to find the guardian or to attract the guardian's attention. He thought of many things in an instant and roughly knew the origin of this parrot. Speaking of the Eastern Wilderness Great Emperor, he had at least 2 distinctive symbols, the Eastern Wilderness Pagoda and the parrot. It was said that the parrot of the Eastern Wilderness wasn't the pet of the Eastern Wilderness Great Emperor. Instead, it was the brother of the Eastern Wilderness Great Emperor. The 2 of them were sworn friends. It was obvious that this lousy parrot was the descendant of the Eastern Wilderness Great Emperor. Who are these 2? Chu Yang's killing intent instantly rose. They all deserved to die. The desolate demon young master and the child of the sea god. The guardian directly told Chu Yang, which made Chu Yang a little surprised. At the same time, he was shocked, the child of the sea god. If that was the case, the explanation of the sea demons was very easy. Both of them have received preliminary recognition from the Eastern Wilderness Tower. Chu Yang narrowed his eyes slightly. Guardian, you came to find me to see if I have the qualifications to be recognized by the Eastern Wilderness Tower, right? Yes. The Protector said, just now, I tested your battle prowess. I can feel that your battle prowess is very shocking. There is no need to continue. Now, let's see if you can get the Eastern Wasteland Tower's approval. As he spoke, the Guardian's golden finger pointed at Chu Yang's forehead. Wang. Suddenly, there was a buzzing sound in Chu Yang's spiritual world. A simple and unadorned huge pagoda appeared in his spiritual world. Although it was simple and unadorned, it was very magnificent. It almost filled his spiritual world. Even a slight movement could make his spiritual world explode. Boom, boom, boom. Chu Yang was like an ant in front of the tower. The huge tower was like a mountain, and if it fell on him, the consequences of being an ant could be imagined. The so-called wilderness demon prince and the child of the sea god also received this test. I want to see how difficult this test is. This was an invisible confrontation with the wilderness demon prince and the child of the sea god. If Chu Yang couldn't even pass the test, then he definitely wasn't a match for these two. The suppression of the ancient tower was a spiritual suppression. This was a spiritual confrontation. Chu Yang had no intention of attacking the Eastern Wilderness Tower. He imagined himself as the earth that carried all things. Chapter 800. Dawn. When the ancient pagoda fell, Chu Yang's mind shook violently. However, everything calmed down immediately. It didn't cause too big of a ripple. Everything was as Chu Yang had expected. Unfortunately, the Guardian did not show any emotion, so he did not get any useful information to deduce the relationship between the desolate demon prince and the sea god's son. That lousy parrot had a look of disdain on its face, but Chu Yang directly ignored it. You have been recognized by the Eastern Wilderness Pagoda. Before the Guardian finished speaking, he had already disappeared into thin air, but that lousy parrot was still there. Then the sphere in the air also unraveled, revealing Chu Yang once again. Everyone's eyes immediately looked over. Jun Zhontian and the burning sky holy sun's pupils constricted in the dark. Chu Yang had been recognized by the Eastern Wilderness Pagoda a bit too quickly. Keek, that pig lover, that thing with special fetishes, that guy with heavy tastes, why don't you hurry up and kowtow to this divine bird and shout that the divine bird has appeared, its divine abilities are great, its magical power is boundless, and its lifespan is the same as the heavens. The parrot laughed loudly and poked Chu Yang with its wings, saying proudly, this divine bird can now officially tell you, don't jump. If I say you have been recognized by the Eastern Wilderness Pagoda, then you are. If I say no, then you are bullshit. The Eastern Wilderness Pagoda's recognition. A single word caused a huge wave, and everyone immediately cried out in surprise. The Eastern Wilderness Pagoda, who was that person that appeared just now? The little prince suddenly obtained the Eastern Wilderness Pagoda's recognition. What is this situation? Could it be that that was a test, and the little prince has already passed the test? Keek. When the parrot heard everyone's cries of surprise, it became even more proud. It laughed strangely and shouted, little ones, now you know how powerful it is, this divine bird is invincible. Why don't you kneel and shout that the divine bird has appeared, its divine abilities are great, its magical power is boundless, and its lifespan is the same as the heaven. The divine bird has appeared, its divine abilities are great, its magical power is boundless, and its lifespan is the same as the heavens. Wasn't this stealing the little prince's slogan? Could it be that like master, like servant? The little young master didn't know how to behave properly. The divine bird that was recognized by the Eastern Wilderness Tower was also so shameless. I know what a lousy parrot it is. Suddenly, a person cried out in alarm. But just as his voice sounded, a tricolored light shot out like lightning. By the time the man sensed it again, the parrot had already closed in on him. With a smack of its talons, the man was sent tumbling backward. Who are you calling a lousy parrot? It was glaring angrily at that person, its eyes almost spitting fire. A slip of the tongue, a slip of the tongue. The man apologized profusely. Lord Divine Bird, it was a slip of the tongue. Just say it was a slip of the tongue and it'll be fine. The parrot's anger had not yet subsided. It nimbly pointed at the pig demon that Chu Yang had killed with its wings and ordered, "You go and fall in love with that pig immediately, and have a heart-wrenching love." The parrot was truly lacking in virtue. The man's face immediately flushed red, as if his father had just died. "What are you waiting for? Yes, yes, yes." He didn't dare to resist and hurriedly went to have a passionate love affair with the pig. "That's right." The parrot proudly puffed out its chest. "This divine bird is the descendant of the great emperor of the Eastern Wilderness. From now on, you can all call me the divine bird of the Eastern Wilderness." Now its eyes swept over the crowd once again, and ordered, "Please loudly shout this divine bird's slogan." Everyone was naturally shocked, but they hesitated. This divine bird was not to be trifled with, and that little young master was not to be trifled with either. "That's not good, that's the little young master's slogan." Peng! The parrot was angry, flames shooting out of its eyes as it angrily said, "What little young master's slogan? When I used this slogan, that thing wasn't even born yet." Chapter 801. That pig-loving guy. That thing with a special fetish. That guy with a heavy taste. The more Chu Yang thought about it, the angrier he got. "What? You obviously have a special fetish. You don't even let the bird talk about it." Quack, quack. The parrot laughed wildly again. "I promise I'll make sure you die with a sense of rhythm." When the parrot heard this, its eyes immediately lit up. Then it poked Chu Yang with its wing. "How dare you? Special fetish. You dare to steal my famous words. You deserve to die. Why don't you kneel down and apologize?" Everyone thought that the divine bird was hopeless. At the same time, they also thought that Chu Yang had met his match. Swish! Chu Yang shot toward the parrot like lightning. He was as fast as lightning. The parrot was slightly surprised and quickly dodged. Then Chu Yang repeatedly attacked the stupid parrot. However, he was shocked to find that the stupid parrot was very fast. It was very difficult to deal with this stupid parrot without using his full strength. At the moment, Chu Yang was trying to catch a fly. Of course, this stupid parrot was not a fly. With Chu Yang's current cultivation, the fly would have been dead long ago. "Fly, do you really think I can't do anything to you? Who are you calling a fly? You special fetish. You pervert. You're the fly." The parrot's angry voice suddenly stopped. Chu Yang had already taken out the yin-yang 4 symbols vase. He pointed the mouth of the vase and said, "Suck." "Ah, ah." The parrot screamed. It was shocked to find that it was being sucked in by an amazing suction force. It struggled with all its might. Most shocking of all, its soul was being sucked out. When Chu Yang's small white hand reached out to grab it, it shouted angrily, "Special fetish. You want to kill the divine bird that upholds justice? How can you succeed?" Flap, flap, flap. Its tricolored wings flapped violently, shooting out streaks of rainbow light that converged and transformed into a bottle similar to the yin-yang 4 symbols vase. It resisted Chu Yang's yin-yang 4 symbols vase and broke free from the suction force, escaping. Chu Yang was shocked once again. When he met Little Six in Coiling Dragon Town, Little Six also had the same ability and was able to learn his martial skills in an instant. And yet, this lousy parrot was even more astonishing than Little Six. It was only a matter of time before the yin-yang 4 phases vase was able to transform it into a magical technique. His eyes lit up. Chu Yang possessed the genius martial soul, and the wind brain had caused his brain to undergo a fundamental change. Just like Little Liu, it wasn't difficult for him to instantly learn other people's martial techniques. The difficult part was that he couldn't quickly grasp the martial soul visualization diagram in the opponent's martial techniques. This lousy parrot could do it. If he ate this lousy parrot and got its talent, wouldn't that be more or less the same? The parrot's hair stood on end. Chu Yang's gaze was extremely frightening. No, it was extremely frightening. TCH, that's a special fetish. What's with that look? This divine bird is warning you, if you dare to look at me like that again, this divine bird will immediately turn you into ashes. I like to eat capable birds, especially ones like you. Chu Yang's eyes were burning. Although I don't seem to like parrot meat very much, I don't mind tasting it. So, I've decided to put you, this stupid bird, on my gourmet ranking list. Son of a bitch, this special fetish, he actually planned to eat it. The parrot was also angry. Special fetish. This divine bird is officially informing you. This divine bird is going to turn you into ashes. Ah. However, it instantly screamed again. It was once again trapped by the yin-yang 4 symbols vase. Just as it was about to use the same trick to break free, it felt a violent pressure above its head, and there was even a rumbling sound. The parrot looked up, and its eyes almost popped out of their sockets. The Eastern Wilderness Tower. Chapter 802. Chu Yang had only used the Eastern Wilderness Tower's test for this attack. It was a perfect reappearance. This is the divine bird's will to die. Its special fetish is actually on par with this divine bird. This time, it was truly shocked. It was too late to dodge, so it could only threaten. Special fetish? You should know that this divine bird can control the mark of the Eastern Wilderness Tower. If you piss this divine bird off, this divine bird will immediately take back that mark. TCH. Chu Yang looked down on it. It's just the Eastern Wilderness Tower. You think I care about this stupid thing? Who cares about the great emperor of the Eastern Wilderness? You, a stupid bird, dare to act so impudently in front of me just because you're the great emperor of the Eastern Wilderness? Today, I'll teach you how to write the wrong word. Zhan Zhongtian, who was hiding in the dark, couldn't help but become angry when he heard Chu Yang's words. The Eastern Wilderness Tower is just a stupid thing. Who cares about the great emperor of the Eastern Wilderness? Chu Yang actually dared to belittle his ancestor. When he thought back to what the burning heaven holy sun had said, he really felt that this so-called little prince was extremely likely to give the Eastern Wilderness Tower to Chu Yang. The great emperor of the Eastern Wilderness was indeed a supreme existence in the Eastern Wilderness, but it wasn't necessarily a famous figure in the East continent. Therefore, although Zhan Zhongtian was angry, he didn't lose his temper. The little prince in front of him really didn't care about the Eastern Wilderness Tower. The deeper reason was that Zhan Zhongtian clearly knew that the great emperor of the Eastern Wilderness, his ancestor, had been hunted down by enemies in the East continent, and then fled to the Eastern Wilderness. That thing, you actually dare to disrespect the great emperor of the Eastern Wilderness. The parrot was completely angry. It seems that I must take back this mark. Stupid bird. Let's not talk about whether you have the ability to take it back. Even if you do, so what? Chu Yang was filled with disdain. This damned bird wanted to hook something out of his mouth. It was simply wishful thinking. As long as he had the genius martial soul and the fool martial soul, the mark of the Eastern Wilderness Tower would be able to escape. Stupid bird, I'll be honest with you. The main reason I came to this stupid island is to create a gourmet cuisine ranking to pay my respects to my idol. Now, I can tell you with absolute certainty that I'm going to eat you today. The parrot struggled with all its might. It knew that it had encountered a difficult opponent this time. Its entire body erupted with 3 colors, red, blue, and black. The rainbow light was incomparably dazzling. At the same time, the phantom of a divine pagoda appeared above its head. Rumble. Chu Yang's spiritual world trembled incessantly. The giant tower formed by the imprint of the Eastern Wilderness Tower trembled violently. It immediately wanted to uproot itself from the ground, shrink, and fly out of Chu Yang's spiritual world. This lousy bird really has this ability. Chu Yang activated the genius martial soul. Suddenly, a big hand of light fell and grabbed the Eastern Wilderness Tower. It fiercely kneaded, squeezed, and squeezed. The originally mountain-sized Eastern Wilderness Tower instantly turned into a talisman. The genius martial soul threw it back into Chu Yang's spiritual world in disdain. What? The parrot was really frightened this time. It couldn't recall the imprint of the Eastern Wilderness Tower. This kind of thing had never happened before. Zhan Zhongtian, who was hiding in the dark, was also shocked. This was too unbelievable. After all, this was Emperor Island, where the Eastern Wilderness Tower was located. Even so, the imprint couldn't be retrieved. Dong. The eastern wilderness tower formed by the spiritual chi pressed the parrot to the ground. Chu Yang walked over and grabbed its claws. He suddenly lifted it up, but he felt that this stupid bird was quite heavy. Chapter 803. Bang, bang, bang. Who's the pig lover? Who's the pig lover? Who's the pig lover? Chu Yang grabbed this lousy bird and started to smash and hammer it. The parrot screamed again and again. Finally, it didn't dare to be arrogant anymore. It begged for mercy again and again. Its body couldn't kneel down, but its voice was already kneeling down. Grandpa, please spare me. I'm the pig lover. Grandpa, please spare me. I'm the pig lover. Grandpa, please spare me. I'm the pig lover. Too savage, too lacking in morals, actually mistreating a divine bird like it. The parrot wanted to cry but had no tears. If it had known that Chu Yang was so cruel, it wouldn't have dared to talk nonsense. But now, it was too late to say anything. Spare you? You're humiliating me. It's your honor to be on my gourmet rankings. Stupid bird, you should be proud. How can you be afraid of death? The parrot was in a coma and was about to faint. Don't worry. When I pluck your feathers, I'll make sure you're in pain, Chu Yang said as he plucked the parrot's feathers. The parrot screeched miserably. In the end, Chu Yang had plucked out all its feathers. But he was still not satisfied. He roasted the parrot over the fire and burned off all its feathers. Chu Yang didn't stop there. He condensed his spiritual energy into a mirror so that the parrot could look at its current majestic appearance. The parrot saw its naked body in the mirror, and its vision turned black. But that was not the end of it. Its entire body was charred black, and it couldn't bear it any longer. It roared, "You wicked thing. Grandpa Bird only uses his mouth, but not his hands. You scolded and hit me. Grandpa Bird will fight you." It opened its mouth and spat out a torrent of flames, swords, gold rock, and other demonic beasts. But how could it do anything to Chu Yang? Chu Yang smashed it into pieces. "I'll kill you. I'll kill you." Chu Yang turned his spirit energy into a knife and directly cut off the two wings of the parrot. He threw them to the parrot and ordered, "Go and roast your wings for me to eat." The parrot simply wanted to die. How could you bully a bird like this? You cut off its wings, and I even had to personally cook it for you to eat. Was there still any bird logic? Was there still any bird method? Young master, I don't have hands. The parrot didn't dare to provoke Chu Yang again. It could only flatter and carefully put forward such a good reason to avoid the tragedy of becoming the first parrot in history to roast its own wings. Chu Yang didn't say anything. He directly cut off a piece of meat from its body and stared at it. "Now you have hands, right?" "Yes, yes, yes." The parrot was trembling in fear. It finally realized that this vicious thing really wanted to eat it. It was just worried that the guardian would come to its rescue and show justice. But the guardian, that damned thing, didn't care whether it lived or died. Soon, everyone saw a parrot with two of its wings cut off. It spat out flames from its mouth in an incomparably comical manner. The spirit energy on its body transformed into 3 hands and began to roast its 2 wings and a piece of its own flesh. Then they heard the parrot's miserable voice. "Young master, I've never roasted meat before. My technique is not good. Please forgive me later." "It's okay. If your technique isn't good, you can practice more," Chu Yang said. "Although you don't have much meat on your body, I can still cut you into pieces. I guarantee that there's enough meat on your body. You can practice without worry." When the parrot heard this, it directly fell to the ground. Miserable, miserable, miserable. It felt that there was no other parrot in the world that could be more miserable than it. It had no love for life. "You've dirted my parrot wings. Hurry up and wash them." As soon as the words left Chu Yang's mouth, the parrot shot up into the air and used his spiritual energy to create water to wash the parrot's wings, as well as the parrot's flesh. Before long, the parrot was filled with grief. "These were my wings." Chapter 804. Stupid bird, what kind of expression is that? You look like you lost your parents. I'm not happy. Can't you give me a way out? Although the parrot was wailing in its heart, it immediately forced a happy face and happily roasted its parrot wings. That's right. Chu Yang spoke again. Sing another song, it'll be even better. Sing with me. I'm a little bird, I want to fly, but I can't fly high. I'm looking for a warm embrace, isn't that asking too much? When the parrot heard this, it felt as if it was singing from the bottom of its heart. Then, it was horrified. This cruel thing had completely penetrated its heart. The shadow in its heart expanded countless times. Given the current situation, the parrot had 10,000 bad feelings. This cruel guy in front of it could definitely think of 10,000 ways to soak it, and 10,000 ways to make it miserable. It quivered and immediately began to sing. Its voice was very clear and pleasant to the ear, but its heart was already bleeding. You sang well. Let me teach you another song. I thought I would cry, but I didn't. I just stared at your footsteps and gave you my last blessing. Isn't this also a kind of enlightenment? The parrot thought, I'm already crying. In the end, it understood the meaning of the song. It was a story of a man and a woman who loved each other to death. This was obviously revenge for the parrot saying, let go of that sow, let me do it. It regretted it so much now that it had to have a passionate relationship with this ferocious guy. Oh, what a painful enlightenment. When the parrot sang this line, it completely sang its heart out. Finally, Chu Yang made it sing conquer again. The parrot felt that if this continued, its spiritual wings would be cut off and roasted. Then, it suddenly thought of a reason to save its life. Young master, I'm male. Ah, the parrot screamed, and in an instant, a large piece of meat was cut off from its body. Then, Chu Yang threw it over for it to roast. At first, it didn't understand, but then it understood homosexuality. Hey, how can I be so stupid? The parrot wailed in its heart. Who can save this poor bird, the most miserable parrot in the world? Everyone present watched this scene with their eyes wide open and their mouths wide open. They didn't get tired of watching it for a long time, but after they slowly calmed down, they still felt that it was unbelievable. Although this parrot had a foul mouth, it was still the great emperor's bird of the eastern wilderness. How could it be that it didn't care about the inheritance of the great emperor of the eastern wilderness at all? Then, they suffered a calamity. What kind of expression is that? Isn't it just a stupid bird? If you dare to sympathize with it again, I'll deal with all of you as well. Hearing this, everyone was scared half to death and immediately shouted, Little young master, you are on the Emperor's Island. You possess remarkable abilities and boundless magic power. Little young master's magic power is boundless on the Emperor's Island, and his longevity is as long as the heavens. In the dark, Zhang Tian listened to the loud shouts and gritted his teeth. This bastard, humiliating the divine bird like this, he's slapping the face of my Jun family. I want him dead, I want him dead. The burning sky holy sun was shocked. Zhang Tian's emotions were fluctuating too much. He was afraid that Chu Yang would sense it, so he said, Young master, you have to control yourself. If that bastard finds out, it'll be very bad. Zhang Tian immediately quivered. He and the burning sky holy sun were definitely not this young master's match. If he were to be toyed with like this, he probably didn't want to live anymore. With this scare, all his emotions disappeared in an instant, and he hurriedly left. Chapter 805. Emperor Island, in a secret realm. Among the mountains, there was a lonely palace. It was cold and desolate. A person entered the secret realm, and the sound of air breaking was very clear. He instantly disappeared into the palace. Inside the palace, it was pitch black. One couldn't even see their own fingers. Mingzi has news. In order to prevent the East Continent's young master from teaming up with Chu Yang, he requested to kill the East Continent's young master immediately. Got it. A cold and gloomy voice came from the dark. The voice was extremely low, as though a poisonous snake was hissing. Then, the voice said, Is there any news about Chu Yang? Not yet. Oh, could it be that he hasn't entered Emperor Island? There is no way to know. What are you doing? A few voices came from the dark. At this moment, there was no way to know how many people were in the dark. All right, Don't make things difficult for him. You may leave and find Chu Yang's traces as soon as possible. Yes. The person left, and the voice in the dark sounded again. Enyu Yi, how should we deal with Ming Zi's request? This voice was very hoarse. The cold and gloomy voice from before sneered and said, he really thinks that he is the young lord. He is just a chess piece and dares to command us. That East Continent's young master is not the main point now. The main point is that Chu Yang. His threat is too great. Enyu-san, what he said is exactly what I am worried about. This voice didn't reveal any emotions. It was as though a puppet was speaking. This Chu Yang has completely ruined our plan. What I am most worried about is that he is only at the ascending soul realm. With the help of some artifacts, he was actually able to easily kill a 9th stage soul reincarnation realm martial artist. Even if the three of us attack together, we might not be able to take him down. The two sects, the Soul Devourer clan and the Thousand Demon sect, had slaughtered tens of millions of lives. Not only could they obtain a lot of soul energy by relying on the soul-quenching gourd, but if this matter was exposed, these two sects would become even more notorious. If they were exterminated, one could imagine the reputation they would gain. Unfortunately, not only had the 10 million souls been obtained by Chu Yang, the annihilation of the Soul Devourer clan and the Thousand Demon sect had also been done by Chu Yang in advance. All of them had been given to Chu Yang. How could they not hate him? This Chu Yang really deserves to die. The Soul Devourer clan and the Thousand Devil sect were originally left for young master to annihilate so that he could win fame. But now, both of them have been overturned by him. It's really hateful. There were 3 people in the darkness. One was Enyu Yi, one was Enyu-san, and the last one should be Enyu-er. The 3 of them were all slaves of the descendants of the great emperor in the eastern wilderness. They did not have names, only code names. They were in the light, but they had to hide in the darkness. Even their own people could not see their faces because they had to specialize in those shameful things. Enyu-san said through gritted teeth, our years of hard work have practically been for naught. This can still be remedied. If we don't have a good reputation, then we can use our fame to suppress them. As long as young master can kill the desolate beast and the sea god this time, and obtain anything from the eastern wilderness tower, the eastern wilderness will still be ours. Enyu-er's hoarse voice was filled with worry. The most troublesome thing now is this Chu Yang. Under the suppression of Emperor Island, our realms have been suppressed too much. Even if we have secret treasures that can temporarily break free from Emperor Island's suppression, we won't be able to hold on for too long. Also, what worries me the most is that this Chu Yang can be said to be invincible on Emperor Island, but he's so low-key and cautious that we still haven't heard from him. His temperament really makes me scared. Enyu Yi's emotionless voice rang out again. This Chu Yang is indeed troublesome, but this young master from the East Continent can't be left alive either. He admires Chu Yang. If the two of them work together, there's really nothing we can do. That's right. In the darkness, after a short silence, Enyu spoke again. This young master from the East Continent might not be very interested in the Eastern Wilderness Tower. If he has misgivings with Chu Yang, there won't be any conflict. If the Burning Sky Holy Sun and Jun Zhontian could think of this, how could Enyu Yi and the other two not think of it? If we kill this young master from the East Continent and incur the wrath of the big shots from the East Continent, I'm afraid there will be endless trouble in the future. This will depend on whether we can do it flawlessly. If we can, the advantages of killing this young master from the East Continent will outweigh the disadvantages. If the young master from the East Continent was killed and the big shots from the East Continent were enraged, the ones to suffer would naturally be the major forces in the Eastern Wilderness. This was even more so when they couldn't find the culprit. Perhaps the big shots from the East Continent would sweep through all the major forces in the Eastern Wilderness. When that happened, it would be easier for them to control the Eastern Wilderness. Chapter 806. Enyu Yi, you make the decision. Enyu-san said coldly, if it wasn't for this Chu Yang, our massacre would have already started. No one should even think about touching the Eastern Wilderness Tower. If the elites from the Eastern Wilderness who entered Emperor Island heard such words, they would probably not be able to eat or sleep in peace. There was actually someone on Emperor Island who specifically wanted to slaughter them. However, that was indeed the case. It wasn't that there weren't any elites in the Eastern Wilderness. Emperor Island opened again and again, but no one could obtain the Eastern Wilderness Tower and obtain the inheritance of the great Emperor of the Eastern Wilderness. The main reason was that the elites in the Eastern Wilderness were all slaughtered by assassins like Enyu Yi, Enyu and Enyu San. Enyu Yi and the other two weren't natives of Emperor Island. There weren't any natives on Emperor Island. They were just the descendants of the great Emperor of the Eastern Wilderness. If they could find traces of Emperor Island, it would be much easier for them to enter Emperor Island. However, it was a pity that after so many years, among the descendants of the great Emperor of the Eastern Wilderness, there wasn't a decent talent who could kill the desolate demons and sea god suppressed by the Eastern Wilderness Tower and obtain the Eastern Wilderness Tower. Naturally, no one knew about these secrets. As for the descendants of the great Emperor of the Eastern Wilderness, in order to restore the glory of their ancestors and unify the Eastern Wilderness again, they did many things that no one knew about. Enyu said, "Enyu Yi, shouldn't we let the master make the decision on this matter? I'm afraid it's too late." Enyu Yi said, "This round trip took a lot of time. We can ask the young master, but we don't know if the young master has entered Emperor Island yet." After a pause, Enyu Yi said, "The master told us to act according to circumstances. Now, let's raise our hands to vote. If two of us agree to kill the young master of the Eastern Continent, then we'll kill him first." "I agree." Enyu San gave his reasons. "We can't let the young master of the East Continent live. Although it's risky and might anger the big shots of the East Continent, this risk has to be taken. Otherwise, when will we be able to unify the Eastern Wilderness?" "I agree too." Enyu also gave his own reasons. Chu Yang is already very difficult to deal with, and this young master of the East Continent is a huge variable. If we don't get rid of this variable immediately, everything will be out of our control. This Chu Yang is troublesome. Young noble Huang Yarrow and the son of the sea god are also difficult to deal with. We can't drag this out any longer. When Slave said this, the meaning was already very obvious. On the other side, the miserable life of the parrot was still going on. After Chu Yang vented his anger, he shouted, "Let's start." Immediately, the parrot was petrified in place. Chu Yang took out firewood, rice, oil, salt, soy sauce, vinegar, tea, pots, bowls, ladles, all kinds of condiments, and wine from his spatial ring. They almost formed a small mountain. What shocked the parrot the most was that Chu Yang, this cruel and immoral thing, had even prepared firewood. What kind of a bastard was he to do this? Once again, the parrot was horrified. It felt more and more likely that it would be eaten. Cao Ju and the others had already dealt with the big peacock and started a fire to cook. Chu Yang cut off big pieces of meat from the peacock and then began to mutter, "Will chicken stew with mushrooms work? This peacock is just a bigger chicken. It should work." The peacock was the chicken. Using this as a reason, he called out a list of dishes. Beggar's chicken, braised chicken, sliced chicken, shredded chicken, salted chicken, marinated chicken, preserved chicken, wolfberry mushroom chicken soup. The parrot, who was roasting its wings, was horrified when it heard this. Then, the fragrance wafted everywhere. Chapter 807. Not long after, it was time for dinner. The flesh of powerful demonic beasts is comparable to elixirs. It is indeed true. After eating a mouthful, Cao Ju was moved. However, how many people could eat the flesh of powerful demonic beasts? It would be good if it didn't eat you. How can it be fake? The silver wolf picked up a piece of peacock meat and ate it. It was quickly digested, and essence chi rushed into his body, making him feel comfortable. After Jin Duo ate a mouthful, he was also astonished. He then said, "Especially the demonic beasts on the Emperor Island. They are better than those outside. After all, there are many treasures on the Emperor Island. Just like this peacock, who knows how many elixirs it had eaten. Its flesh contains great essence." Chu Yang was also moved. The peacock meat turned into essence chi and flowed like a warm current in his body, nourishing his body. Although the effect wasn't great, there weren't many treasures in the eastern wilderness that could nourish his body. As for the preciousness of demonic beast's essence blood, he didn't notice it before. Back then, when he was still in the coiling dragon martial institution and was fighting with the Zhao clan, Chu Yang killed an eagle and a white lion. He didn't think about this at all. When he arrived at the Sea Demon City, the demonic beasts were clamoring to eat him. He returned the favor and wanted to eat the demonic beasts. Only then did he notice it. However, realizing it and feeling it were two completely different things. At this time, a scene suddenly appeared in Chu Yang's mind. At that time, he had just suppressed the rebellion of the Zhao clan. One day, he clearly remembered the extremely satisfied appearance of Nangong Ying and the other old fellows after they had eaten and drunk to their heart's content. These old farts. Why didn't they tell me about such a good thing? They mocked me for not knowing what's good for me and only knowing how to eat demonic beasts in a cause. What a fool. Chu Yang was a little depressed. He was very sure that he was laughed to death by Nangong Ying and the other old guys in the past. Everyone quickly moved their chopsticks, and in the blink of an eye, they ate half of the peacock meat. All the dishes were finished, and there wasn't a single drop left. Amazing, truly amazing. This isn't inferior to eating a mutant fruit or elixir. Soon, everyone from the Five Elements sect exclaimed in amazement. At this moment, the chi and blood in their bodies were surging, and there were even faint rays of light flickering from their bodies. The more amazing the effect was, the more it showed Chu Yang's stupidity, especially since he was a demonic beast killer. Next, the cultivators from the Five Elements sect immediately became enthusiastic. At any rate, as long as they became gluttons, they could increase their cultivation base. Where else could they find such a thing? If the demonic beasts can be stewed together with some medicinal ingredients, the effect will be even better. The taste will also be better. Let's go and find some. That's right. I haven't finished eating this peacock yet. There's still a Soul Wheel Realm pig demon. I definitely can't miss this opportunity. You're right. When Chu Yang saw that most of the people had left, he transmitted a message to Cao Ju. Where's this peacock's demon core? The Mahamayuri Sutra contained the Dharma of the peacock. Chu Yang felt that the talent of the peacock would be of great benefit to him. The Grand Elder's five-colored Buddhist light actually moved him, but he couldn't find a way to get it. When the five-colored divine light was released, there was nothing that it couldn't absorb. No one could stop it, not to mention that kind of supernatural power. Let's see what kind of changes will happen after I get the talent of the peacock. After Chu Yang got the peacock's demon core, he immediately swallowed it and started to cultivate. At this moment, he didn't need the spherical heaven universal millstone to crush it. The demon core entered his body and was directly crushed by him. After removing the impurities, only the most original talent of the peacock was left in the demon core. Mahamayuri Sutra. With a Buddhist chant, a crown, necklace, earrings, and bracelets appeared. The Mahamayuri Sutra's Dharma appeared. It was solemn and benevolent as it rode on a colorful peacock. The Sanskrit chants resounded in his spiritual world. The Mahamayuri Sutra's Dharma didn't change much, but the peacock he rode on was clearer and more real than before. Green, yellow, red, black, and white divine lights shone around it. It was beautiful and solemn. That's it. I got the talent of the peacock, but it only made the Peacock King's figure clearer and more real. Chu Yang used his genius martial soul and pointed it at the Peacock King. Then, the Peacock King collapsed into the 5 colors of green, yellow, red, black, and white. Guided by the genius martial soul, it merged with Chu Yang's chaotic physique. Chaos. Suddenly, Chu Yang was shocked. According to what Chu Yang knew, the 5-colored divine light was a little bit of chi of the Great Way in the primordial chaos. When the 5-colored divine light was separated into the 5 elements, the Peacock King was born in it and grew into 5 feathers on its tail. The Peacock King refined it and reenacted the 5 elements. When the 5-colored divine light shone, there was nothing under the Great Way that it couldn't shine. Can I do it too? Chapter 808. Night fell and the silver moonlight sprinkled down. 5 colors of green, yellow, red, black, and white were injected into the origin of Chu Yang's chaotic physique. After an unknown amount of time, there was finally a fluctuation. 5 rays of light shot out from the deepest part of his body and floated in his sea of qi. Chu Yang saw that they were 5 extremely small characters. They seemed to be 5 tadpole characters. The meanings of the characters were clear. One was like a mountain, one was like a drop of water, one was like a pillar of heaven, one was like a flame, and the last one was like a cone. The mountain is earth, the drop of water is naturally water, the flame is naturally fire, the pillar of heaven is like a house, the pillar of heaven is like wood, and the sharp awl is like metal. These 5 characters represent the 5 element. Chu Yang was overjoyed. Very good, very good. The peacock has 5 feathers, and I have 5 characters. It is clear that I am superior, while the peacock is illiterate compared to me. From this, I can infer that my 5-element divine light is stronger than it. However, when he tried it, his little face instantly darkened. Although he had used the 5 characters to produce the 5-element divine light, this attack was at most the full power of the origin martial realm. What sweeping through all things, brushing all things, collecting all things? That was simply laughable. Did you have to produce 5 feathers? This is so infuriating. What kind of ability was the 5-element divine light that brushed all things? How could it be so easily obtained? If other people knew about Chu Yang's current reaction, they would definitely beat him to death. He was just too greedy. To have 5 characters appear was already heaven-defying. With the 5 characters as the foundation, the 5-element spiritual qi surged and rushed in, evolving into 5 feathers: green, yellow, red, black, and white. Shu'er Chu Yang once again shot out the 5-element divine light. He felt that its power had increased by a lot, but it was at most an attack of the Qi Soul realm. What's the use of this? Wong wong wong. As Chu Yang continued to use the 5 characters, the 5-element circulation heaven ring and 5-light anti-heaven star in his body suddenly shook violently and flew out, fusing with the 5 characters. 5 elements. There's nothing wrong with them being of the same origin and resonating with each other, but how effective would it be when the 3 are combined? Chu Yang shot out another 5-colored divine light. The 5-colored divine light swept out like a heavenly saber. Everything that came in contact with it was cut into 2 halves. There wasn't a trace of sound. It wasn't until a while later that the sound of collapsing trees could be heard. Cut! Isn't this the same as shooting out the pentagram reversal? Even without the 5 elemental characters, it would still have such power. Chu Yang was dissatisfied, and once again shot out a beam of 5-colored divine light. This time, it suddenly sucked in everything around it. This is the effect of the 5 elements circulation heaven ring. As the 5 elements circulate, the center of the 5 elements circulation heaven ring forms a whirlpool and a black hole that sucks in everything. Chu Yang was not surprised by this result. In the end, his conclusion was that there was not much use. It was just the 5 elements heaven circulating ring and the quincunx star. Even if he did not reveal them, he could still display their power. It's better than nothing. But it's not bad to have such an effect after eating a peacock's inner core. If the 2 apes, Little Six and Little Black, were here, they would definitely despise Chu Yang to the core of the earth and look askance at him. They were obviously very happy, but they were just pretending. In the forest, Cao Ju and the others had naturally heard the commotion caused by Chu Yang. When they looked over, they saw that Chu Yang was sitting there with his legs crossed. His body was emitting 5-colored divine lights of green, yellow, red, black, and white. Behind him, the 5-colored light was like a peacock spreading its tail. It was beautiful and solemn. Under the illumination of the 5-colored light, neon lights flashed and became blurred and dreamy. Bastard Chu, are you trying to spread your tail like a peacock? Cao Ju was a little shocked. He did not know if this was the scene caused by Chu Yang swallowing the peacock's inner core or the light released by the circulation of the 5 elements. 5-colored Buddhist light, it looks like it, but it also doesn't look like it. Cao Ju was frightened when the silver wolf spoke. The 5-colored Buddhist light was the divine ability of the Grand Elder. If this was confirmed, then Chu Yang's identity would be exposed. Chapter 809. This cruel little nephew of mine really knows how to cause trouble. Don't tell me he wants to learn the Peacock King's 5-colored divine light divine ability. Jin Duo laughed. In this world, there was also a saying that the 5-colored divine light could wipe out all living things. It was also a peacock, but not Kong Xian. It was called the Peacock King. He's obviously trying to become a bird. Seems like birds are still more important. The parrot was trying its best to belittle Chu Yang and elevate itself in order to comfort its lost wings and its battered soul. Bastard bird, is a peacock a bird? Jin Duo's voice scared the parrot half to death. Thankfully, Jin Duo wasn't Chu Yang, and Chu Yang definitely didn't hear its muttering. The parrot looked askance at Jin Duo. You're so uncultured. Don't tell anyone else that I've spoken to an illiterate like you. This divine bird can't afford to lose face. Bastard bird, believe it or not, I'll eat you. Jin Duo glared at the parrot, but it wasn't afraid at all. This divine bird is the young prince's favorite. Don't you dare touch a single hair on this divine bird. Caw caw. Jin Duo laughed mockingly. Bastard bird, do you even have any hair? The parrot felt like it had been struck 10,000 times, and was about to explode. However, muffled popping sounds could be heard as one corpse after another was thrown over. Cao Ju and the others looked over and saw that it was actually 10 disciples of the 5 Elements sect who had gone out to look for opportunities while Chu Yang was cultivating. Who is it? Cao Ju was furious. Silver Wolf and Jin Duo's faces darkened, and the disciples of the 5 Elements sect around them were also furious. The parrot was scared half to death, and was even more furious than Cao Ju. You wicked bastards, it cursed. You'll definitely suffer retribution. Even if the damned heavens let you off, this divine bird won't let you off. It wanted to cry. How could the rotten kid be in a good mood when he saw all these corpses? How could it be happy when the rotten kid was in a bad mood? That bastard wouldn't hit a drowning bird like this. It had made up its mind to take revenge. Rumble. A huge silver hand covered in silver scales, covering the sky and covering the sun, came crashing down. Rat in the dark, do you think you can do anything to me with your bullshit methods? Cao Ju made a move, and a green light entered the silver hand. It instantly took root and sprouted, devouring the silver hand as nourishment. Tap. Soon, the sound of footsteps could be heard. In the forest, 3 figures walked straight towards Cao Ju and appeared in front of him. One of them was a humanoid creature shrouded in silver light. Its entire body was silver, as if it was forged from silver. There were many silver scales on its face, and its pupils were white. There was also a vertical eye on its forehead. When the moonlight fell on its body, it glowed silver and shone brightly. Its cold gaze swept over Cao Ju and the others. In an instant, it was as if a layer of frost had descended. 3-eyed demon. Cao Ju's eyes narrowed. The 3-eyed demon in front of him actually had a cultivation base at the 2nd level of the soul reincarnation realm. This wasn't the 3-eyed demon from the demon region. It was the 3-eyed demon that lived on the Emperor Island. Only the 3-eyed demon tribe, who had lived on the Emperor Island for a long time, would be able to adapt to the Emperor Island suppression. That was why they were able to break through to the Soul Wheel realm despite the Emperor Island suppression. Behind the 3-eyed demon, there were 2 elders, 1 male and 1 female. Both of them were extremely tall. Especially that old woman, she was extremely outstanding. She wasn't inferior to an ordinary male and was extremely strong. Her female features weren't obvious, and at first glance, one would think that she was a male. Her skin was like an old tree, and there were wrinkles on her face. However, she didn't have the benevolence of an old man. Instead, she had a ruthless temperament. Her pair of old eyes were extremely malicious, giving off a sinister and terrifying feeling. Chapter 810. The 3-eyed demon looked coldly at Cao Ju and the others. Ignorance is blameless, but now that you've seen me, it's time for you to beg for forgiveness. Its voice seemed to be silver, as cold as frost. The parrot was the most furious, and was the first to clamor. Can you speak human language? I can see that you haven't fully evolved, but you're in such a hurry to embarrass yourself. Your parents aren't worried, but aren't you afraid of disgusting me? Whoosh. Two silver eyes immediately swept toward the parrot. The parrot was extremely fast, and with a whoosh, it scuttled to Chu Yang's side. Almighty Master, I'm here to give you a warning. There's something disgusting about the heavens, the earth, and everything. I'm here to tell you, don't open your eyes. Otherwise, Almighty Master, you'll definitely be disgusted. The parrot was painstakingly expressing its stand, but when it suddenly appeared beside Chu Yang, it couldn't help but tremble. It was shocked. What a terrifying killing intent. This is an incomplete evolution. I'm dead for sure this time. The three-eyed demon immediately looked over and happened to make eye contact with Chu Yang. It couldn't help but sneer. You're the young master that the little gold rock king was talking about. Now, I'll give you a chance, an honor, kneel down and be my servant. It looked down at Chu Yang, and didn't look at anyone else. At this moment, its entire body was shining with a dazzling silver light, and it emitted a terrifying wave of energy. Can you introduce yourself first? Chu Yang spoke in an extremely calm tone, and was very polite. This made the parrot tremble again, and it screamed in its heart. It's over, it's over. This wicked guy is completely enraged. Please don't implicate me and drag me down with you. I'm already the most miserable parrot, I can't be any more miserable. Interesting. The three-eyed demon's voice was even colder. Remember, your master is the three-eyed young master of Emperor Island. Now, come here and kowtow. Is it that great to have 3 eyes? Chu Yang stood up from the ground. In the words of you humans, I am now your master. As a servant, you should have the attitude of a servant. Don't you know how to be a servant? As soon as the three-eyed young master opened his mouth, an ocean-like fluctuation instantly erupted. A silver aura pervaded the air and was extremely terrifying. It surged towards Chu Yang like a wave, wanting to force Chu Yang to kneel down. Chu Yang ignored the parrot and walked over. Suddenly, a smile appeared on his face, scaring the parrot so much that it fell to the ground. The great silver wave was like a spring breeze, blowing on Chu Yang's body. With a smile on his delicate little face, he clasped his hands behind his back and walked in front of the three-eyed demon. He circled around it and looked it up and down. How dare you? The three-eyed young master was enraged. His voice suddenly became extremely cold. Chu Yang didn't seem to hear him. He still held his hands behind his back and looked at the three-eyed young master. My first question is, why is your flesh silver? Are you sick? Was he crazy? The three-eyed young master was stunned. It was the first time he had been described in such a shocking manner. My second question is, since you are in human form, how do you want me to eat you? Although you are not human and have not fully evolved, it is not easy to eat you. I am afraid that I will be labeled as a cannibal. Chapter 8:11. Living is a waste of air, polluting the forest, and dead is a waste of land. You're really ruthless. It's troublesome whether you're dead or alive. Was all of this talking about him? The three-eyed young man was stunned. How could he be described like this? Seeing the three-eyed young man's reaction, the parrot was already mourning for him. Now you know how powerful this little rascal is. I'm a divine bird, but all I did was move my mouth, and he's already so miserable. Not only did you kill someone, you even threw the corpse in front of him. How do you spell the word miserable? You'll definitely remember this for the rest of your life. Cao Ju, the silver wolf, Jin Duo, and the people of the 5 Elements sect all stopped talking. The more furious Chu Yang was, the more mocking he was. Especially Cao Ju, who knew Chu Yang's identity. Chu Yang had toyed with the little golden rock and the others of the demon clan. He had made them kneel down and shout. But this so-called three-eyed young master in front of him was nothing. He actually dared to do this. He was simply reckless. You know how to deal with you. You're making things difficult for me, right? Chu Yang looked like he had a headache. Slave. Are you sure you're talking to me? The three-eyed young man couldn't believe that someone dared to talk to him like this. You're really disgusting. If it's not you, who else can give me such a headache? How should I deal with you? Chu Yang looked at the three-eyed young man with extreme disgust. Roar. The three-eyed young man suddenly roared, and the ground shook. Leaves rustled down from the forest, and his face was extremely gloomy. It was truly infuriated. Every time the Monarch Island opened, it was always the one who ate humans and humiliated the human race. All the humans who saw it were terrified and couldn't even stand properly. Just like the 10 people that its 2 servants had killed earlier, one of them was almost scared to death. Now, a human kid was humiliating him like this. He felt disgusted just by looking at him. Although the Gold Rock King knew that this young man was extraordinary, the little Gold Rock King actually didn't respect him at all. Since Shao Zun wanted to kill this young master, it didn't need to care about his identity. It was the young Gold Rock King's order to the three-eyed young master that the desolate demon young master wanted to kill the young master of the East Continent. The three-eyed child didn't know why the little Gold Rock King didn't do it himself. Perhaps it was afraid of the identity of this young master from the East Continent. But in his opinion, the little Gold Rock King was as timid as a mouse. It was just killing a human, so there was no need for him to worry so much. At this moment, the three-eyed young noble's body was covered with thin silver scales that stood up like sharp blades. He originally looked quite handsome, but now, he was incomparably ferocious. His pair of silver eyes flickered with a cold glint. His silver hair draped over his shoulders and stood up like silver needles. It was about to make a move, but it felt that if it made a move, it would definitely dirty its hands, so it immediately ordered the old woman, "Go and teach this lowly food how to respect its master. Evil creature, you're courting death." The old woman hadn't made a sound before, but now she let out a ferocious roar. With a whoosh, she shot into the air. Silver light flashed in her hands, and 9 crescent-shaped silver blades slashed down like 9 heavenly blades. Although it was formed from spiritual energy, it was as if it was real. The cold light was awe-inspiring, as if it was a divine weapon, causing people to tremble. Its sharpness was pressing, and its murderous aura soared to the sky. Humph. Chapter 8:12. The old woman was a human, not a demon. Chu Yang waved his hand. Immediately, green, yellow, red, black, and white lights shone like a peacock spreading its tail. A 5-colored divine light swept over, dazzling everyone's eyes. When the two came into contact with each other, it was a silent collision that was not intense at all. The moment the 5-colored radiance and the eerie light blade came into contact in the air, the 5-colored radiance directly cut the 9 crescent-shaped silver blades into 2 halves as if they were cutting paper. The crescent-shaped light blades exploded with a deafening sound. Terrifying energy waves filled the air. It was extremely shocking, as if the sky was falling and the earth was splitting. The souls of the disciples of the 5 Elements sect were trembling. Such a blow, just by the collapse of the light blades, already had such terrifying energy waves. If it were them, they would definitely not be able to resist it. The old woman's 9 silver blades all exploded in the air, but Chu Yang's 5-colored light was not damaged at all. It directly cut the old woman in half in the air. This was the 5-colored divine light. Was it really the 5-colored divine light that could sweep, and collect all things in the world? Cao Ju was dumbfounded. Chu Yang actually comprehended the 5-colored divine light. However, Chu Yang's 5-colored divine light seemed a little different. It did not sweep, or collect. Instead, it was very fierce and directly cut. The omnipotent young master. When the Silver Wolf and Jin Duo saw Chu Yang use the 5-colored divine light, they directly threw themselves at his feet. "Young master, we are willing to be your slaves and servants. Please learn from our awesome 5-colored divine light. I want to sweep, collect, and sweep away all the beauties in the world. Is this within your business? Don't you know that you deserve to die for stealing my business?" What a joke. When the 3-eyed young master saw the 5-colored divine light, he was extremely shocked at first. However, this was not the 5-colored divine light of the Peacock tribe. Therefore, he was not frightened, only furious. "You are courting death." The 3-eyed young master violently attacked like a tidal wave. In a flash, a beam of silver light had arrived in front of Chu Yang. A silver fist directly smashed towards Chu Yang's head, bringing along waves of silver radiance. Fierce winds blew up hundreds of kilograms of rocks in the surroundings. The Five Elements sect's disciples were extremely shocked. This three-eyed young master was definitely powerful. Just the wind that was stirred up when he made his move was actually able to blow away such a heavy rock. Just how powerful was he? Humph! Chu Yang let out another cold snort and met the attack head-on with a punch. His head of black hair fluttered behind him, making his young face less tender and more valiant. Boom! The two fists collided, and a dazzling light burst out from the explosion. It was as if a thunderclap had exploded. The three-eyed young master's silver eyes widened in shock. Human brat, your body is even stronger than mine. Just how monstrous was he? After this exchange, both of them were pushed back. Chu Yang's large eyes were filled with an ominous glint. He stared at the three-eyed young master and once again pounced towards him in an extremely wild manner. The three-eyed young master's silver palms were still trembling at this moment. He did not dare to meet the attack head-on since his body was no match for it. His silver pupils suddenly glowed with silver light and shot out two beams of silver light that were even more terrifying than divine arrows. Chu Yang's expression did not change. With a swoosh, he immediately shot out a beam of five-colored divine light and swept it over. The heaven and earth suddenly became dazzling. The five-colored radiance and the silver radiance danced together. Several beams of silver light pierced through the five-colored light screen and flew over. Chu Yang was somewhat caught off guard. He moved sideways to dodge, but his neck was still cut open by a beam of silver light. It could have been said to be extremely dangerous. If he had moved a bit more, his throat would have been pierced and he would have lost his life. Five-colored anti-heaven star actually couldn't kill the two beams of silver light. Chapter 8:13. At the same time, the three-eyed prince also retreated rapidly. There was a long cut on his chest, so deep that his bones could be seen. The scales on his body were all cut in half. The three-eyed prince's silver eyes were shaking. How is this possible? My eye technique is far inferior to his five-colored light. There's something wrong with your eyes. Chu Yang was actually envious of him. Lowly food, you're very strong, but you still have to die. The light in the three-eyed prince's eyes became even brighter. A silver light burst out from his body like a burning flame. Then, the vertical eye on his forehead suddenly opened. It was pitch black, as if a gate to hell had been opened. The people of the Five Elements sect suddenly felt their hearts palpitate. Cao Ju had already cried out in alarm, "Be careful! Die!" At this time, the old man behind the three-eyed prince also attacked. However, he was stopped by the parrot before he could get close. "Disgusting old thing, your master is disgusting enough, but you're even more disgusting. Are you trying to disgust my master? How can I tolerate you?" The parrot's feathers were stripped off, and its wings were also cut off. It looked a little funny, but its movements were very fast. It opened its mouth and spat out flames, weapons, and demonic beasts, forming a long river that directly swept over. It was very shocking. This lowly bird really knows how to show its loyalty. Master, it's calling so smoothly. However, this lowly bird's strength is really impressive. The parrot made the people of the Five Elements sect feel disdainful and somewhat surprised. Roar, the three-eyed prince opened his third eye, but he did not use it. He directly rushed over with endless silver light, like a silver wave crashing down. Chu Yang was a little afraid of the third eye. His whole body flashed with five-colored light, like a five-colored rainbow behind him, like a peacock spreading its tail. The Five Elements spiritual chi surged and turned into a peacock that rushed out. Bursts of Sanskrit chants came out from his body, as if he was the Mahamayuri at this moment. Bang, bang, bang. Rumble. Loud noises rang out continuously. Huge rocks in the mountain forest were blasted into fine powder. Towering ancient trees fell down one after another. Dust soared into the sky, and the earth trembled incessantly. The multicolored figure and the silver figure were extremely fast. The confrontation between the two was shocking to the soul. Swish, the silver light blotted out the sky and covered the earth. It was as if a huge silver blade was slashing towards him. Chu Yang dodged, but the place where he was standing was directly flattened, turning into a mess. Chu Yang fought intensely with the three-eyed young master, but in order to conceal his identity, the methods he used were limited. Also, the three-eyed young master's strength was truly shocking. He wasn't an ordinary soul circulation realm cultivator. He dodged and attacked again. The three-eyed prince met the attack head-on. The two of them exchanged dazzling blows in an instant. The radiance was so dazzling that people couldn't open their eyes. There were whistling gales everywhere. The aftermath of the explosion was like a surging wave. The more the three-eyed prince fought, the more frightened he became. He was not as good as him in terms of physical strength, but in terms of precious techniques, he realized that his opponent was not weaker than him either. It even felt as if the other party was using it to polish the five-colored divine radiance and the peacock precious technique. To it, this was simply a type of humiliation. However, what shocked it the most was that its eyes repeatedly shot out silver light. Even such a talent seemed to be seen through by the other party. At this moment, Chu Yang's eyes were shining brightly. I can't let this continue. The three-eyed prince suddenly shot out a silver ocean, which enveloped Chu Yang. Chapter 8:14. Buzz. A strange fluctuation rippled in the void. Suddenly, a black light shot out from the third eye and arrived in front of Chu Yang in an instant. It turned into a huge demonic saber and chopped down at Chu Yang. Kai Kai. There seemed to be a highly toxic substance or a terrifying corrosive liquid around the demonic blade. Once it came into contact with the air, it immediately emitted a sizzling sound and emitted white smoke. There were also countless miserable screams being emitted from it. They were extremely mournful, as though they were the miserable screams of the people being killed by this demonic blade before they died. The sound alone frightened the people of the Five Elements sect and made their hair stand on end. Five-colored divine light. Chu Yang felt a great sense of danger. At the same time, he activated the pentagram anti-heaven star and the Five Elements heaven rotating ring, shooting out a blazing five-colored light. The Five Elements heaven rotating ring and the pentagram anti-heaven star both spun at high speed, forming a huge vortex and a black hole in the center. It sucked in everything, while the pentagram anti-heaven star cut everything. However, none of this appeared. Whoosh! As soon as the five-colored divine light shot out, the demonic saber was sucked in and disappeared. Then, black water splashed out and fell to the ground with a sizzling sound. It corroded the ground violently and emitted billowing white smoke. What? It's really the five-colored divine light. The three-eyed young master was shocked and in disbelief. Cao Ju also opened his eyes wide at this moment. It was really the five-colored divine light. This divine light swept through everything, sucked in everything, and wiped out everything. Chu Yang used the Five Elements heaven rotating ring to shoot out the five-colored divine light. At this moment, it was really like the five-colored divine light. It made the surroundings suddenly seem to be still. You actually got the five-colored divine light of the Peacock clan. The three-eyed young master's voice was trembling, not because of fear, but because of excitement. After the shock, he felt a burst of ecstasy in his heart. Lowly food, you are very good. I will capture you and torture you out of the five-colored divine light. Then, the divine light will be mine. Hey, you incomplete thing, are you not awake yet? How dare you talk to my master like this? Before Chu Yang could say anything, the parrot jumped out and cleaned up the old servant of the three-eyed prince. The three-eyed young master's eyes turned cold. He didn't pay any attention to the stupid parrot. Instead, he suddenly released a silver light shield that enveloped Chu Yang. It was the three-eyed young master's domain. The fact that it could release its own domain on Emperor Island was simply too shocking. Under the suppression of the Emperor Island, although the demonic beasts on the Emperor Island didn't fall from the soul reincarnation realm, they were still able to release their own domains. This was the case with the pig demon that Chu Yang had killed when they first entered Emperor Island. However, the three-eyed young master was able to release his own domain. Clearly, this was what he relied on and what he was proud of. Lowly food, I'll give you one more chance. Be my servant obediently and offer me the five-colored divine light. I'll bestow upon you unlimited glory. TSK. Chu Yang didn't care about the three-eyed young master at all. He looked down on the three-eyed young master and said, "Disgusting thing locked in Emperor Island, you're really stupid. You think that your so-called domain can restrain me? I'll show you the real five-colored divine light." Boom. The five-colored divine light burst out and a beautiful peacock appeared behind Chu Yang. Under the cover of the five-colored divine light, he used the third revolution of the primitive martial technique and the third revolution of the vital spirit. He now had 20 dragons power, which was 120 dragons power. He could kill even a soul reincarnation realm level 8 or level 9. Although he didn't have a domain to fight against the three-eyed young master, the three-eyed young master was only at the soul reincarnation realm level 2. As the five-colored divine light burst out, Chu Yang directly pierced his hands into the silver shield and tore it apart. It was as if he was tearing apart a piece of cloth. He tore the silver shield into 2 halves. What? With the five-colored divine light, he can actually tear apart my domain? The three-eyed young master was scared out of his wits at this moment. In the dark, a pair of eyes saw this scene and couldn't help but send out a huge spiritual fluctuation. However, no one paid attention to it. However, Chu Yang's divine sense was too sharp. He faintly sensed it in the middle of the battle, but he didn't have the time to pay attention to it. The three-eyed young master's domain was torn apart, so how could he still dare to fight against Chu Yang? His body burst out with boundless silver light as he quickly fled. "Do you think you can still run?" Chu Yang lightly shouted. With a boom, a pair of peacock wings appeared behind his back. As soon as they spread out, they soared through the sky as fast as lightning. The three-eyed young master didn't manage to run very far before he was caught up by Chu Yang. After a short exchange, the three-eyed young master, who was almost scared out of his wits, was directly killed by Chu Yang. Seeing Chu Yang directly dragging the three-eyed young master's corpse back, the parrot immediately sang his praises. "Master's divine ability is great, his magical power is boundless, the five-colored divine light can sweep away all living things, my master is mighty." What a shameless parrot, what a shameless bird. However, no one paid attention to this bird at this moment. The five-colored divine light, Chu Yang actually grasped this amazing divine ability. Cao Ju was the most shocked. He knew best how Chu Yang's five-colored divine light came about. However, after eating the demon core of the peacock, one had to calculate carefully. At most, Chu Yang ate a lot of peacock meat, but he still obtained such a divine ability. "Awoo!" He howled and screamed, "I want to eat peacock meat, no one can steal it from me. I will fight anyone who tries to steal it from me." Swoosh! The silver wolf heard this and was the first to move. With a swoosh, it directly ran away with the peacock's meat that hadn't been finished yet. "Silver fox, you dare?" Cao Ju shouted and immediately chased after it. Jin Duo also joined the fray, and the three of them started fighting. The other disciples of the Five Elements sect were speechless. Could it be that eating the peacock would give one such a divine ability like the five-colored divine light? A few of them thought for a moment. It seemed to be true. Didn't the young master just eat the peacock meat, then cultivate for a while, and then shoot out the five-colored divine light? Was this possible? What if it was true? With a boom, they joined the fray. "I want to eat peacock meat, don't steal my peacock meat. You want to eat it, you can't eat it alone. Do you really think that eating the peacock meat will give you the five-colored divine light? Don't be naive. Then you don't have to eat it." The people of the Five Elements sect were in a mess, but Chu Yang didn't have any joy. Looking at the 10 corpses of the Five Elements sect on the ground, he really couldn't feel happy. "My all-powerful master, are you having a headache because of this disgusting thing? Let me help you solve this small problem." As soon as the parrot jumped out, although its body was small, it suddenly opened its mouth and directly swallowed the three-eyed young master. Then it secretly rejoiced, "I ate this disgusting and human-shaped thing, this wicked thing, now it won't dare to eat me, right?" It thought that its plan had worked, and its heart was happy, but Chu Yang suddenly roared. The parrot was so scared that its guts almost burst open, but fortunately, it wasn't attacked. At this moment, Chu Yang's eyes were fixed on a towering ancient tree, and his roar immediately startled a night bird. "It's just a night bird. Chu Yang frowned. When he was fighting with the three-eyed young master, he clearly caught a mental fluctuation in the dark. Just now, he had been searching with all his might, but he couldn't find it. He only found a trace of abnormality, so he roared. No, there's something wrong with that night bird. Chapter 8:15. Chu Yang's angry roar and the screams in the night made Cao Ju and the others quiver, and they immediately stopped making trouble. At this time, that night bird had already disappeared into the night, and there was no trace of it. Its speed could be said to be extremely fast, or else it wouldn't have been able to do that. From this, Chu Yang concluded that there was something wrong with that night bird. Swish! After the night bird disappeared, Chu Yang rushed in the direction of the screams, and Cao Ju and the others followed behind him. The parrot wanted to take the opportunity to escape, but after thinking for a moment, it thought that it had just paid a painful price to appease the little bastard's anger. If the little bastard noticed its escape and chased after it, then it really didn't need to live anymore. Therefore, it could only follow obediently. After a while, Chu Yang found a corpse beside a pool. It was the eldest son of Hai Wuya, the sea demon city lord, Hai Shanghai. He died with his eyes wide open. At this moment, Hai Shanghai's ocean-like deep blue eyes had already lost their luster, and there was still a terrified expression on his face. There was only one fatal wound on his body, and it was a sword that pierced through his heart from behind. The force of the sword completely shattered his heart, and his heart meridians were all severed. He couldn't be more dead. Other than that, there were no other traces, and there was no trace of a fight at the scene. This meant that the murderer was caught off guard and killed him with a single blow. Isn't this my technique? Chu Yang's pupils shrank. Is someone deliberately trying to frame me? Instantly, he thought of such a possibility. In the entire eastern wilderness, there was probably no one who didn't know that he was good at this. Therefore, when Hai Shanghai died in such a way, the first thing that people would think of was Chu Yang. Damn it, who was the one who was so scared? Chu Yang suddenly felt that this Emperor Island was full of fog and danger. Suddenly, in the night, there was another scream, and it came from the southeast. This scream made Chu Yang's heart tremble again. The murderer is still killing and framing him. He hurriedly chased after it. At this moment, at the small lake where the scream couldn't be heard. The small lake had no name, but the scenery was extremely beautiful. Under the light of the night, the lakeside was not very dark. There was a thin mist, and the willows were very beautiful. In the thin mist, under the willow tree, there was a flute and a person. It was a very beautiful man with a thin figure. His face was very delicate, and his eyebrows were picturesque. He looked like a woman. This was the Crown Prince of Wei. After a day of fierce fighting, the Wei nation's pagoda master slowly relaxed as he looked at the beautiful scenery. He even started to play his flute, causing this piece of land to suddenly be filled with a boundless sense of poetry. As soon as the sound of the flute was heard, someone came walking in the night light. It seemed that because of the flute playing the partridge in the sky, it was very pleasant to hear. He could not help but sing softly along with the flute. Where does the illness go to know the depth of spring? Tongshu willow leaves are 3 inches long. Liu Yin's golden thread can be found. Liange embroidery versus Yun center lin. Without much effort, I am too lazy to climb. The cold at the bottom of the turquoise gauze gown is still there, and the weak bones can't help but weaken. If this scene was a woman, it would definitely be great. Unfortunately, when the Crown Prince of Wei looked over, the person who came was definitely not a woman. This person made the Crown Prince of Wei's hair stand on end and his nerves tense up. It was a man in green. He was not tall, but he was not short either. He looked leisurely and carefree. His face was pale and gloomy. It was very frightening, as if he was wearing a ghost mask. Chapter 8:16. As soon as the sound of the flute faded, so did the singing. Are you the Crown Prince of Wei Kingdom? When the Crown Prince of Wei Kingdom heard the green-robed man's words, he seemed to see a venomous snake hissing at him. It's me. The Crown Prince of Wei Kingdom's pupils constricted into pinholes and his body tensed up. Crown Prince of Wei Kingdom, I'm here to kill you. Are you ready to die? Ha ha. He's too arrogant, he's too arrogant. The Crown Prince of Wei Kingdom laughed angrily. If you have the ability, you can take my life yourself. Then I'll be polite. When the Crown Prince of Wei Kingdom heard this voice again, it came from behind him. A greenish-black sword had pierced through his back and the tip of the sword emerged from his chest. Under the moonlight, it emitted a terrifying greenish-black light. At the spot where the green-robed man was, the phantom exploded like a bubble. Void Assassin. Martial soul, the Crown Prince of Wei Kingdom wanted to turn his head with all his strength, but he couldn't do it anymore. The blood flowing out of his chest had turned greenish-black and emitted a foul stench. It was like stinky water that flowed out from the sore. It was also a willow forest, but there was no lake. Moreover, there was a bonfire here and it was very lively. It was the Crown Prince of South Korea who brought this liveliness on such a cold night. The Crown Prince of South Korea was only 22 years old this year. He was recognized by the King of South Korea at the age of 22 and became the Crown Prince steadily. It was naturally an achievement that he could be proud of. He didn't like to make friends, but he liked liveliness. Just like how he didn't like the position of Crown Prince, but he liked the honor of being the Crown Prince. The reason was naturally very simple. For example, on this Emperor Island, if he asked people he had never met to come over, they had to come. How lively! Such a voice was suddenly emitted from the night sky, causing the liveliness of the bonfire to abruptly come to a halt. The raging flames also seemed to have stilled at this moment and stopped burning. All of this was naturally because of the person who spoke. This person was wearing a purple robe that had been washed until it was white. The sleeves and chest area were stained with grease. His fingernails were very long, but they were very dirty inside. Although he was wearing a cloth, his hair was sticking out like messy grass, making him look extremely unkempt. His face was yellow and thin, and he looked very much like a poor scholar. He walked straight over, and his eyes began to turn scarlet. His whole body also began to turn red. However, in an instant, his entire body seemed to have been fished out of a pool of blood. The scarlet color on his body flowed like blood. Blood martial spirit. The Korean Crown Prince's entire body trembled. Not bad. The poor scholar's voice was a bit hoarse. Then, a terrifying smile appeared on his yellow and thin face. I'm here to kill all of you. The poor scholar took out a small pagoda. With a buzzing sound, his domain enveloped everything. Then, miserable shrieks rang out, and the stench of blood filled the air. Finally, the poor scholar left. The blood on the ground flowed silently, but the bonfire continued to burn. The liveliness no longer existed. It was as if this place had turned into a slaughterhouse. Everyone's arteries were ruptured, and the blood in their bodies flowed out, forming a glaring scarlet red. Chapter 8:17. After that, the Crown Princes of Wu Nation, Qi Nation, and the Crown Princes of the Four Nations were all dead. Chu Yang also heard that Long Shenzi and Hu Shenzi of the Longhu sect were also attacked, but they managed to escape death. The Crown Princes of the Four Nations are all dead, including Hai Shanghai. Why are the two from the Longhu sect still alive? After Chu Yang heard the news, he was very confused. The 7 of them were evenly matched. If the murderer could kill the Crown Princes of the Four Nations and kill Hai Shanghai, why couldn't he kill Long Shenzi and Hu Shenzi? The night was long and bloody. Those who were killed were all outstanding talents of the human clan. Including Chu Yang, all the human clan geniuses who entered the Emperor Island in the eastern wilderness had encountered a great enemy. Such a thing made the human clan who entered the Emperor Island anxious. They were worried that they might be the next to die. Amidst such worries and anxiety, the night passed and the sun rose in the morning. The human clan began to discuss with each other to vent the fear in their hearts. I heard that even the little young master of the East Continent was attacked. It was said that the three-eyed demon could release a domain, but he was killed by the little young master. I also heard that 10 people from the Five Elements sect who were with the little young master were killed. They are considered lucky. With the little young master, their lives were not in danger. That's right. The little young master showed his prowess last night. I heard that he even released the 5-colored divine light. The reason why everyone was discussing the so-called little young master of the East Continent was because everyone was counting on him. Then, someone thought of Chu Yang and said, "The demon clan is so unrestrained and killed the human clan. They are waiting for revenge. Big Demon Chu, Brick Chu, will definitely not let them go." Last night, all the human clan geniuses were killed, while the demon clan geniuses were unharmed. In addition, it was confirmed that the one who attacked the so-called little young master of the East Continent was from the demon clan. Almost everyone believed that the demon clan was responsible. After all, on the Emperor Island, only the demon clan had such strength. They are waiting for a fate worse than death. If Big Brick Chu makes a move, it won't be as simple as death. Big Brick Chu has to make a move. However, who has any news about Big Brick Chu? I'm afraid he didn't even come to Emperor Island this time. Even if Big Brick Chu didn't come, isn't there still Little Prince? Little Prince, do you think it's easy to get along with him? The hustle and bustle on Emperor Island could not reach the Mystery Land, let alone the lonely palace in the Mystery Land. However, the Mystery Land seemed to know everything that was going on outside. At this moment, the three people in this secret realm had just returned from outside. The leader was a strange man. He looked like a meatball. His belly was as big as a drum, and his body was covered in fat. His whole body was dirty, and his hair and beard were messy. There was a sour smell on his body that could be smelled from afar. Both of his legs had been cut off at the base. Although he was fat and crippled, he could not move. He floated in the air like a huge rock. To his left and right were the green-robed man who had killed the Crown Prince of Wei and the poor scholar who had killed the Crown Prince of Han. The strange man was Enyu Yi, the poor scholar was Enyu and the green-robed man was Enyu San. Behind them, the little golden rock king followed behind them like a puppet. Its eyes were dull and lifeless, without any spirit or intelligence. Enyu Yi, what exactly happened on your side yesterday? Enyu and Enyu San had both succeeded. Only Enyu Yi had failed. The situation that they wanted to create had also succeeded. The demon clan wanted to slaughter the human clan prodigies and seize the inheritance of the eastern wilderness. As a result, Chu Yang was likely to appear and attack the demon clan prodigies. Chapter 8:18. I can now conclude that this young master is from the East Continent, Enyu 1 said. Although the five-colored divine light is only in its embryonic form, he has indeed mastered it. What's even more shocking is that he can actually tear apart the three-eyed bug's domain with his bare hands. Other than the East Continent, I'm afraid no one in the Eastern Wilderness can do this. Five-colored divine light, tearing apart a domain with his bare hand. Enyu and Enyu San were shocked when they heard this. Lian Zhen finally understood why Enyu 1, who was proficient in the soul-snatching technique and could kill without leaving a trace, had failed. This was simply too shocking. Fortunately, I used the soul-snatching technique to control the little gold rock king and send an order to the three-eyed bug. That young master from the East Continent will probably kill those demon prodigies for us, and even the desolate demon young master. Enyu 1 laughed. However, although there was a smile on his face, the strange thing was that there was no trace of a smile. It was simply terrifying. Enyu 1, this is actually pretty much the worst situation. Even if the young master from the East Continent kills all the demon prodigies and even the desolate demon young master, what's the use? Enyu San said in a sinister voice, right now, this East Continent's young master is the one we need to kill the most urgently. Otherwise, once he enters the Eastern Wastelands Pagoda, he really could kill the desolate demon and sea god and obtain the Eastern Wastelands Pagoda. At that time, all our years of hard work would have been for naught. We can kill the younger generation of the demon race ourselves. Enyu also said hoarsely, this young master from the East Continent is the one we need to kill the most urgently. He added, there's also the elusive Chu Yang. These two are our biggest worries. If we can't get rid of them, the consequences will be unimaginable. The purpose of the three of them was to prevent others from obtaining the Eastern Wastelands Tower and obtaining the inheritance of the Eastern Wastelands. As for the Eastern Continent's young master and Chu Yang, They were the ones who had the highest chance of obtaining the Eastern Wastelands Tower because their talents were the most shocking. Therefore, no matter how many people they killed, no matter how many plots and tricks they plotted, as long as the young master of the East Continent and Chu Yang were not dead, everything they did was in vain. The terrifying smile on Nu Ichi's face completely disappeared. I've already thought of a countermeasure. He pointed at the young Gold Rock King behind him. I'll control him and order the Winged Tiger King, Nine Spirit King, and the Ape King to kill that young master from the East Continent. After that, no matter what the final result of the battle is, the three of us will attack together and kill the final victor. As for the final victor, the three of them already had an answer in their hearts. It would definitely be the young master of the East Continent. Of course, this plan was also extremely good. The Little Gold Rock King, the Winged Tiger King, the Nine Spirit King, and the Little Ape King would attack the young master of the East Continent. Even if the young master of the East Continent could win, he would definitely consume a lot of energy. In addition, in such a big battle, the young master of the East Continent would definitely use all his means. At that time, the three of them would attack and kill the young master of the East Continent. It could be said that it would be foolproof. There's a problem. What if that Chu Yang suddenly appears after we appear? Nu-san said, the young master of the East Continent is with the people of the Five Elements sect. In order to protect the disciples of the Five Elements sect, Chu Yang will definitely be near them, especially after what happened last night. If that's the case, the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind, and will become the mantis. Enua frowned. This is very likely, but we still have to do it. Because I really can't think of a better opportunity than this. Nu Ichi lowered his eyes. After a while, he said, if the young master of the East Continent slaughters all the geniuses of the monster clan, the desolate demon young master will probably clash with him. However, as soon as he finished speaking, he immediately shook his head and said, that won't do. Chu Yang is still the oriole, and the desolate demon young master is definitely no match for the young master of the East Continent. Not only that, but after what happened last night, the desolate demon young master is probably already suspicious. Even if the young master of the East Continent kills all the geniuses of the monster clan, he might not necessarily clash with the young master of the East Continent. As soon as Enua spoke, the three of them immediately became gloomy. If someone else was present, they would probably be scared to death because the expressions of the three people were too terrifying. Young master, haven't you entered Emperor Island yet? Nu-san suddenly asked. If Chu Yang isn't dead, the young master won't dare to enter Emperor Island, Nu Ichi said emotionlessly. Slave 1 replied emotionlessly, young master and Chu Yang have a grudge against each other, and even agreed on a time to fight to the death. If Chu Yang isn't dead and he suddenly enters Emperor Island, there's a 100% chance that he'll be assassinated by Chu Yang. Chu Yang could kill a cultivator at the 9th stage of the soul reincarnation realm. This ability was too shocking, and they were too wary. Then we can only take the risk. Nu-san said darkly. I don't believe that the three of us together can't kill two mere brats. Regardless of whether it was Chu Yang or the so-called young master of the East Continent, they were indeed brats. Chapter 8:19. Chu Yang and the others were attacked. After such a night, Chu Yang and the others were on their guard. They found a relatively safe place to set up the Five Elements sect's encampment on Emperor Island. The towering mountain was as black as ink, like a demonic mountain. There was always a thick black thunder cloud in the sky above the mountain. It also looked like a demonic mountain that could fall at any time. From time to time, thunder would roar and rumble. Ancient trees towered into the sky, huge rocks were laid across the mountain, and waterfalls fell. It was like the Milky Way falling from the 9 heavens. Chu Yang chose this place because of the terrain. The power of thunder was rich here, and it was the most suitable place to set up a thunder formation. Under Chu Yang's instructions, the Five Elements sect started to set up a camp in an open space on the mountainside. Then, Chu Yang set up the formation. After discussing with Cao Ju, he used the excuse of going into seclusion to cultivate the Five Elements' divine light and disappeared before everyone's eyes. He had decided to attack the demon clan. The elites of the human clan had suffered heavy casualties. When they fought for the inheritance of Emperor Island, it would be extremely disadvantageous. They would definitely be pushed out by the demon clan. This was something Chu Yang did not want to see. After all, his hope of increasing his cultivation level was all in the inheritance of Emperor Island. Otherwise, without the inheritance of Emperor Island, when would he be able to complete the third transformation of the ascending soul realm? The genius martial soul and the idiot martial soul required a terrifying amount of soul power to improve. Sometimes, he felt a little desperate. The energy required to improve his physical body was also terrifying. Chu Yang checked his savings, soul power. He had killed many elders of the Soul Devourer clan and many demons of the Thousand Demon sect in the Reincarnation Gourd. The Reincarnation Gourd could refine a lot of soul power from their souls, but it was like a cup of water on a burning cart of firewood. It was already a blessing that his 2 martial souls could increase by 2 ranks. As for the energy required to improve his physical body, he only had 1 desolate demon egg. He planned to leave it for Little 5 and Little 6 to revive. Kill the desolate demon prince and seize the remaining 5 desolate demon eggs. That's still not enough. The desolate demon and sea god suppressed by Emperor Island are the real deal. Only by obtaining their soul energy and the essence of their flesh and blood can I complete the second transformation of soul ascension and enter the third transformation of soul ascension. In that case, I must first balance the strength of the human clan and the demon clan. Otherwise, it would be too difficult for me to fight against the desolate demon young master and the others by myself. After some consideration, Chu Yang was even more determined to kill the little gold rock king, the 9 spirit king, the winged tiger king, the little ape king, and the little 3-eyed king. Roar. The lion's roar sent out sound waves that shook the mountains and rivers. After that, the location where Chu Yang was cultivating in seclusion also shone with multicolored light, like a peacock spreading its tail. After creating the impression that he was cultivating in seclusion, he prepared to leave. He went out to hunt, but as soon as he lengthened his bones and finished changing his form, a rumbling sound came from outside. Moreover, it did not stop, and there were also faint sounds of killing. What's going on? Chu Yang couldn't help but narrow his eyes. The situation had changed. He immediately changed into his 8 or 9-year-old appearance. At this time, a disciple of the 5 Elements sect hurriedly flew towards him. Little young master, the little gold rock king and the others are here. Senior brother Cao Ju and the others can't hold on for much longer. This person was about 24 or 25 years old. There was a black mole on the left side of his face. When he saw Chu Yang, he spoke anxiously. I know. Chapter 820. If he fought with the little gold rock king and the others, his identity might be exposed. Then, the disciple of the 5 Elements sect with a mole on his face suddenly appeared in his mind. I seem to have sensed his mental fluctuations before. Everyone had their own characteristics, and so did the divine soul. Then, the night bird from last night also appeared in his mind. Was he the person last night? At this moment, Chu Yang suddenly felt that something sharp was piercing his flesh from behind, wanting to pierce through him. In an instant, Chu Yang realized that the situation was bad. He rushed forward at an extremely fast speed, and when he turned his head around, he saw that the 5 Element sect disciple with the mole on his face had a strange smile on his face. Then, with a bang, he exploded, and his flesh and blood splattered everywhere. Damn it, who is it? Chu Yang could conclude that the disciple of the 5 Element sect was definitely being manipulated. At the same time, he immediately felt a sharp pain on his back. Something was polluting his blood and corroding his flesh and blood. A great fear struck his heart. It's poisonous. It's highly poisonous. Bang! With a thought, a large piece of flesh on his back was blown out, and a large amount of blood was also forced out, spraying on the ground like a water column. In an instant, the ground was corroded and white smoke billowed. The piece of flesh that was blown out was also rotting at a visible speed in a short period of time, emitting a rancid smell. Chu Yang's pupils shrank at the sight. What a vicious poison. If I was a moment late, I'm afraid I would be in trouble. The poison immediately reminded him of the appearance of the Crown Prince of the Wei Kingdom when he died last night. The Crown Prince of the Wei Kingdom was bluish-black all over. Not long after he died, he emitted a rancid smell. It's the same group of people from last night. Chu Yang sat down cross-legged to heal his wounds. His physical body's self-healing ability was extremely strong. His muscles wriggled and his blood surged like a river. In a short period of time, the flesh on his back grew again, no different from before he was injured. It didn't take long, but Chu Yang found that the fierce fighting outside had subsided. He was shocked. Could it be that the fighting just now was just to attract my attention, or Cao Ju and the others are all dead? Sure. He flew out and arrived in the blink of an eye. At this time, the battle was almost over. Cao Ju was dispirited and listless. His face was as pale as a sheet of paper. There was a large hole in his chest. He was lying in a pool of blood, gasping for breath. Beside him, Jinduoduo's entire body was charred black. Several golden feathers had pierced through his body, causing blood to gush out. The silver wolf's forehead almost split open. There were deep scars on it, and it was almost killed by a single claw. The parrot also participated in the battle, but at this time it was on the verge of death. Seeing Chu Yang there, it continuously cried out in a low voice to show its unwavering loyalty. Many disciples of the Five Elements sect died, and their corpses were strewn all over the place. From the moment Chu Yang heard the sounds of battle, to the moment he was ambushed, healed, and finally appeared, only an incense stick's worth of time had passed. However, Cao Ju and the others had all been defeated. Chapter 821. Chu Yang looked at the other side. When he saw the little gold rock king and the others, he understood. Cao Ju's defeat wasn't unjust, because the other party was strong enough. Leading them were the little gold rock king, Nine Spirit King, Winged Tiger King, Little Three-Eyed King, Princess Fox, and a ferocious ape. It was 3 to 4 meters tall, and its black fur was like steel needles. It had a bloody mouth and fangs, and it was pounding its chest. This should be the Little Ape King. They attacked at the same time. Cao Ju and the others were surrounded by them. Naturally, they couldn't hold on for long. In addition to them, there were a dozen or so demons. They were all very strong and had murderous auras. They should be demons from Emperor Island. Chu Yang didn't show his anger. He put his hands on his hips and pointed at them. Little Golden Bird, Sick Cat 1, Sick Cat 2, Little Deformed, Little Monkey, and that female fox without a tail. I'm overseeing the Five Elements sect, and you dare to come and slap my face. You've committed a heinous crime. Now, I'll give you a chance to kowtow and apologize. The Little Gold Rock King was Little Golden Bird, Nine Spirit King was Sick Cat 1, and Winged Tiger King was Sick Cat 2. The most outrageous one was the Little Three-Eyed King. Because it had an extra eye, it was called Little Deformed. Such a big commotion naturally attracted a lot of attention. Many people were watching this battle. When they heard Chu Yang's words, they couldn't help but be stunned. What little golden bird? The parrot immediately clamored. So blind. It even dares to offend my master. Is it a bird? At most, it's a chicken. The parrot was seriously injured, but it didn't forget to flatter Chu Yang. However, its cheap mouth had weakened a lot, and it didn't seem to know how to despise people anymore. Lowly food. You really think you're a young master of the East Continent? The Winged Tiger King's voice was cold, and there was a kind of arrogance and disdain on his face. Shao Zun has already investigated. You're just a lowly creature. After killing a disciple of the East Continent's Gongsun family, you had nowhere to run, so you hid in the eastern wilderness. Chu Yang couldn't help but narrow his eyes. Could it be that they mistook me for someone? Stupid cat, just wait and come into the bowl. Jin Duo also howled. You won't die if you don't seek death. Just wait for junior brother Chu to deal with you. Cao Ju looked at the group of demonic beasts and sneered, my junior brother Chu only gave you a brick and stripped you naked. This time, you can imagine how he will torture you. I guarantee that you will be humiliated in a very rhythmic manner. Chu Yang. When the Winged Tiger King, Nine Spirit King, and the others heard this, All kinds of strange expressions appeared on their faces. Today, they had attacked the Five Elements sect. How would Chu Yang take revenge? They only thought about it for a moment before they felt chills all over their bodies. Stripped naked, hung up to dry under the sun, there were worse things than this. For a moment, the 9 Spirit King, the Winged Tiger King, and the others all revealed looks of fear. Haha, now you know fear? Just wait for my senior brother to deal with you. The Silver Wolf laughed loudly and pointed at the Winged Tiger King. You despicable sick cat actually dared to sneak attack me. When my senior brother deals with you, I'll definitely give him valuable advice. What bullshit, Chu Yang? What bullshit, young master? All of you are lowly food. Today, I'll tear you all apart. The little ape king roared angrily. Then, it looked at Chu Yang with disdain, emitting a murderous aura. Chu Yang glanced at it, and said, "Little monkey, you're being rude. It's obvious that you haven't suffered from my idol before. Very well, I'll deal with you to pay respect to my idol. However, I definitely won't strip you naked because you have too much hair." The little ape king was furious. It beat its chest and roared at the sky. "Little monkey, can you not be too ugly?" Chu Yang stared at it. "I was planning to use 2 pieces of the table to choke your neck, open your skull, and dig out your monkey brain to eat. Are you planning to disgust me in advance?" After saying that, Chu Yang praised, "You're a little smart, but you haven't succeeded yet. You still need to work hard." The little ape king's entire body trembled, and white smoke began to come out from its mouth and nose. "Little monkey, the white smoke coming out of your mouth and nose is your way of disgusting me. What a creative idea. You monkey, your brain circuit is indeed a little unique. I've decided to open it up and take a look." At this time, even the little ape king's ears began to emit white smoke. It took a step forward with its pair of long hairy legs, causing the ground to rumble as it roared, "Little brat, I'll tear you apart bit by bit later. Little monkey, please continue with your happy expression." Chu Yang was already too lazy to pay attention to it, and pointed at the 9 Spirit King, a beautiful encounter, braised lion's head. He then looked at the Winged Tiger King, a soul-eroding tiger bone soup. Finally, Chu Yang looked at the little Gold Rock King. "As for you, instant freedom, flying chicken wings." Chicken wings? The little gold rock immediately cast a sidelong glance over. Its golden pupils instantly turned into a golden vortex, erupting with a great suction force, as if it wanted to suck Chu Yang's soul out. Chapter 822. Ah! Someone screamed in fright. "Too terrifying, what is this? My soul is about to be sucked out." The onlookers were in chaos. Many of the 5 Elements sect's disciples were horrified and felt a chill run down their spines. They abruptly left the little Gold Rock King's line of sight and shook their heads vigorously. Only then did they regain their senses. The little Gold Rock King's entire body was shining with golden light. It had a kind of innate majesty, as if a golden god had descended into the world. At this moment, it was looking down at Chu Yang and its surroundings, as if it was looking down at its people. Its eyes were incomparably deep, and the center of the vortex was like a black hole. It swallowed the golden color in its eyes, and its golden eyes shockingly turned pure black. If it wasn't for Chu Yang, an ordinary person's soul might really be sucked out when they faced the little Gold Rock King's pair of eyes. Chu Yang shivered in his heart. The little Gold Rock King was already abnormally powerful, and now there was something strange about its body. He had to be vigilant, or else he might suffer a great loss. Buzz! His soul shook, and the little Gold Rock King's effect on his spirit collapsed in an instant. Circles of ripples rippled out. "What a pity," the little Gold Rock King said in a low voice that was almost inaudible. Its voice was like gold and stone, without any emotion. Although its voice was low, how could Chu Yang not hear it? He couldn't help but squint his eyes. "Why are you talking so much nonsense? Let me go first. I want to see what's so great about this lowly person who tricked you all into kneeling down. You all are afraid of him, but I'm not afraid of him." The little ape king roared angrily and strode forward. It was the first to make a move. Boom! 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 The ground jumped up and down, and the 100-pound stones on the ground were actually jolted into the air. Although the little ape king was only 3 to 4 meters tall, it seemed extremely heavy. The power it exerted when it stomped down was far beyond its size. Its whole body was covered in thick black hair, and it was like a foot-long steel needle. Little monkey, I am now certain that you are the #1 idiot amongst the demonic beasts. My lord's divine abilities are vast and boundless, yet you still haven't sensed it. You have committed a grave sin, the parrot clamored. Little bitch, your skills are deteriorating too quickly. These words have no lethality at all. Chu Yang commented. The parrot refused to accept this and vented its anger on the little ape king. It cursed, "Stupid monkey, your stupidity has infected me. What enmity does this divine bird have with you? You're actually so malicious." With a boom, the little ape king was infuriated after hearing this. Its body erupted with boundless black light like a small black sun. It suddenly grew to 7 or 8 meters in height and stomped down with one of its black feet. It was overbearing, wild, violent, and condescending. There was also a kind of extreme disdain and contempt. It wanted to stomp Chu Yang, this ant, to death. Its appearance was ferocious, and it had a wide mouth and sharp fangs. This kind of attitude was like a giant dragon crushing a bug. It was so arrogant and domineering. It was a type of self-confidence, but it was also a type of humiliation and retaliation. The little ape king wanted to kill Chu Yang with an unstoppable force. You really haven't suffered a loss before. You're always so naive. This was the parrot's lesson of blood and tears. It saw that this black monkey was so arrogant. It was no different from how it was before. It was completely courting death. Wait a moment, it could guarantee that this black monkey would immediately feel how much of a bastard Chu Yang was. The little ape king's black feet covered the sky as it stomped down. Chu Yang's small body had already disappeared from everyone's line of sight. Overturning the sky seal. With the help of the little ape king's concealment, Chu Yang vaguely used the overturning the sky seal. Immediately, the world seemed to shake fiercely. Everyone saw that the little ape king seemed to be caught by an invisible big hand. It suddenly stopped in place, and then it was flipped over. It crashed to the ground with a boom. Chapter 8:23. In my name, come here, lightning. Chu Yang secretly activated the formation. He pointed his small hand at the sky, and with a rumbling sound, a bolt of lightning tore through the sky and struck down. At this moment, everyone's eyes couldn't help but bulge, and their expressions were very strange, because this bolt of lightning accurately struck the middle of the little ape king's crotch. The little ape king's hair instantly stood on end, and he was extremely frightened. He didn't even have time to struggle up from the ground. Suddenly, a black light burst out from his body, forming a big black bell to protect him. Rumble. The sound of thunder struck down, and the big bell burst into pieces. The little ape king was directly blasted out from the ground, and then the sound of electric current was loud. The little ape king's black body was like a dark cloud at this moment, and lightning flashed and thunder rumbled on it. At the same time, its whole body was charred black, and wisps of white smoke were emitted from it, and the smell of burnt meat was also emitted. Roar! The little ape king's scream immediately shook the sky and earth. Everyone present, whether human or demon, seemed to be able to roughly imagine how the little ape king was feeling at this moment. After all, the smell of burnt meat was emitted. The little young master really lived up to his reputation. After all, how could such a person be ordinary when he idolized Brick Chew? This strike and this lightning shocked everyone who saw this scene, and they were a little confused. However, the little ape king could only blame himself for being too arrogant. He actually dared to be so disrespectful to the little young master. Even if the little young master wasn't the son of some big shot in the East Continent, he was still extremely extraordinary. He really wouldn't die if he didn't seek death. Gaga. The parrot's prediction completely became reality. It was laughing so hard that it kept rolling on the ground. Haha. Cow Ju, the silver wolf, Jin Duo, and the people of the 5 Elements sect all laughed crazily. Chu Yang was speechless. Then, he shrugged and spread his hands at the crowd, saying, If I say that I really didn't do it on purpose, would you believe me? I'm very pure. Gaga. Ha ha. The parrot, Cow Jew, and the others laughed even harder, and the onlookers also laughed crazily. On the demon clan's side, other than the little gold rock king, the 9 spirit king, the winged tiger king, and the others suddenly felt as if a certain part of their bodies had been struck by lightning. At this moment, they were also charred and in pain. Their expressions revealed a faint sense of uneasiness. Chu Yang and this bullshit little young master in front of them, the evilness of the two of them had completely exceeded their imagination. It was guaranteed that they would definitely regret it until their intestines turned green. Thank goodness we have the little ape king. Luckily, it was the first one to step on the mine. Fortunately, if I were like that, then it would really be. The 9 spirit king and the winged tiger king rejoiced. Little monkey, I'm sorry. I didn't do it on purpose. I'm definitely not such a despicable person. Haha. The parrot was laughing so hard that his muscles were cramping. Cow Jew and the others were the same. They were laughing so hard that their wounds hurt, but they couldn't stop. The 9 spirit king, the winged tiger king, and the others imagined for a moment. If they were to suffer such a blow and hear such a sentence at this time, how would they feel? It was unimaginable and unacceptable. Roar. The little ape king was injured. He was afraid that it would be even worse. In his rage, he reacted quickly, and a protective shield appeared on his body. He also recovered quickly. His body was originally charred black, but after being struck by lightning, he was even blacker. However, at this moment, his entire face was as red as a monkey's butt. I'm going to tear you apart. Chapter 824. Little monkey, is there a need for your face to be as red as your butt? Chu Yang sighed helplessly. I already said I didn't do it on purpose. Besides, I'm also hurt. Now, I've really been seen as indecent. I'm really hurt. Chu Yang really didn't do it on purpose. Roar. The little ape king was seething with anger. A black fog overflowed into the sky and turned into a tornado that surrounded it. Its whole body expanded again and actually grew a lot taller all of a sudden. In the end, its body grew to 30 meters tall. Its muscles bulged and coiled around its body like a horned dragon. Its divine power was shocking. Rumble. The little ape king furiously rushed over. Black light covered its body like a surging demonic mountain. The earth burst open and huge rocks rushed up. The earth and rocks mixed with the black light surged toward Chu Yang like a tide. This was a shock wave that exploded from the giant ape's body. The black light turned into a 9-layered wave that rushed toward Chu Yang. Little monkey, I'm really angry. Chu Yang stamped his feet on the ground. A 5-colored radiance flickered as he floated in the air like a 5-colored deity. Rumble. Chu Yang directly rushed over. His body moved like a peacock spreading its wings for a while, like a flood dragon soaring into the sky for a while, and like a gold rock biting the moon for a while. These were all innate abilities that he obtained from swallowing all kinds of demonic beasts. In order to hide his identity, he couldn't use many of his methods. At this moment, he had no choice but to use them. With a loud bang, the 9 layers of black waves seemed to have been cut apart by a large fish. However, the young man in the air was too young, and the difference in size between him and a large fish was too great. However, his strength was unparalleled, and with a single punch, the heaven and earth shook. The little ape king became even more ferocious. A dustpan-like hand reached out to grab Chu Yang and crush him into meat paste. Both of them were glowing. This wasn't just the power of their physical bodies. When combined, it was absolutely terrifying. Rumble. Finally, they collided. This collision was like a sudden clap of thunder, and that big hand seemed to want to grab Chu Yang. However, at this moment, it was trembling violently and even spasming. The little ape king roared angrily, feeling extreme pain. That tiny fist from before was like a drill bit that carried the power of wind, fire, and lightning as it fiercely drilled into his flesh. Large amounts of blood splashed out, causing his entire body to tremble in pain. This was clearly a small body, and it was a demonic beast. Its body should be even stronger, But the power that this small body could unleash was so terrifying that it was horrifying. Rumble. The little ape king retreated explosively, smashing through everything. In the end, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, he roared angrily and charged over again. Divine patterns, body attachment. It roared. It really was like a glaring Vajra as it displayed its great demon subduing divine ability. Its body rapidly shrank and immediately reverted to its original form. Its 4 limbs were glowing, and black demonic runes appeared on its arms. It was incomparably domineering, and 80 illusory dragons appeared behind it as it charged towards Chu Yang. 80 dragons of strength. Ignoring domains, one could fight against someone at the 3rd level of the soul wheel realm. This was just the strength of the physical body. If one added in spirit chi, it would be even more ferocious. When Cao Ju and the others saw this scene, their eyelids couldn't help but twitch. The crowd was also in an uproar. The battlefield was also in an uproar. The little ape king displayed its might, its divine strength shocking the world. Its black iron fist smashed towards Chu Yang. However, what was shocking was that that small body was similarly ferocious. The illusory image of a huge demonic ape appeared behind it, and its divine might was also astonishing. Violent Vajra demonic ape, he possesses the innate divine ability of the violent Vajra demonic ape. The 9 spirit king, winged tiger king, and the others cried out in alarm. The little ape king's pupils trembled. That was the direction of its evolution. Chu Yang faced it head-on, and this place trembled. The little ape king collapsed upon contact, and was violently beaten like a sandbag. In the end, he grabbed one of the little ape king's arms and swung it around, smashing rocks everywhere. Ayo! The little ape king howled miserably without end. Boom, boom, boom. When Chu Yang saw that the little ape king was still ferocious, he became even more violent as well. He swung it around and smashed it on top of a mountain. The mountain trembled and cracked, and huge rocks rolled down, directly smashing a mountain until it collapsed. Even the mountains were trembling, and the scene was astonishing. Everyone who saw this scene were all dumbstruck. Who exactly was the demonic ape? How much terrifying power was hidden in Chu Yang's small body? He was actually swinging the little ape king like a scarecrow, and smashing it to the north. It was extremely terrifying, and it made everyone's eyelids twitch. As for the little ape king's situation, there was no need to think about it. Miserable, too miserable. Kill him. The 9 spirit king, winged tiger king, and the others roared. It was impossible for them to remain indifferent. If they didn't make a move, then the little ape king's fate would be next. In an instant, all the demonic beasts rioted together. They trampled on the earth, spread their wings, and attacked together, drowning Chu Yang. Chapter 825. Rumble. The heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. The demon-like mountain shook violently as if it had jumped up. A terrifying crack tore through the mountain like a bolt of lightning. If it wasn't for the fact that the mountain was large enough, it would have been completely destroyed or even erased. Cao Ju and the others were affected. Their screams were completely drowned out by the huge explosion. Smoke and dust rose up like a mushroom cloud where Chu Yang originally stood. After a while, when the smoke dissipated, a huge crater appeared. It seemed to have penetrated the ground, and magma surged within the crater. It was a terrifying scene. The 9 spirit king, the winged tiger king, the little 3-eyed king, and Princess Fox all attacked together. With this attack, even a spirit stage powerhouse would be killed. This attack was enough to shock the world, but what was the result? Swish. The little gold rock king, the 9 spirit king, and the winged tiger king looked over first. Then, everyone else looked over. Even Cao Ju and the others, who were affected by the huge explosion, struggled to look into the crater. Not a single shadow could be seen in the deep pit. Not even a ghost could be seen. There was only a bubble of magma struggling on the verge of death. Without the great heat of the great energy, the red magma had already dimmed and was slowly extinguishing. Could it be that the East Continent's young master had died? No, the fake young master from the East Continent had died. Everyone couldn't help but have this question in their hearts. He should be dead. With such an attack, I'm afraid that even I wouldn't be left with anything, let alone this lowly food. The little three-eyed king was very handsome. If the three-eyed goblin from the Emperor Island hadn't completely evolved, then the little three-eyed king had completely evolved. He had a head of purple hair that draped over his shoulders. It hung loosely in front of his chest and back. His eyes were brilliant and full of spirit, and his skin was sparkling like jade. At this moment, he had a gentle smile on his face. It made him look even more handsome. The little three-eyed king could be said to be a pitilessly handsome man. He was almost perfect. We let him off too easily. Back then, when we were being chased, we had to kneel down in front of him. It was a great humiliation. The winged tiger king's voice was abnormally cold. It was like a cold light on a blade. It's a pity that we didn't manage to retrieve the Eastern Wilderness's origin source and the holy egg. Princess Fox felt pity for him. She looked at the winged tiger king and scolded him. "You idiot, can't you use your brain before you attack? Who knew that this lowly food would be so unbearable? Can't they avoid him?" When the winged tiger king heard this, he was incomparably dejected. When he thought of the Eastern Wilderness's origin energy and the holy egg, he let out a heart-wrenching roar. "Lowly food, you trash, you're a piece of trash." The tiger's roar shook the heavens. King Ju-Ling didn't say anything. The 9 lion heads looked confused. It was fun. The silver wolf, Jin Duo, and the rest of the 5 elements sect felt as if they had stepped on air and fallen into a bottomless abyss. They were in complete despair. Once the young master died, they would definitely die. Is Chu Yang really dead? Cao Ju's pupils were trembling, and so were his hands. He stared blankly at the huge pit. Keek, the leopard demon, who had transformed into a human with a face covered in spots, looked at Cao Ju and company's expressions and grinned mockingly. Look at their expressions. Even I feel pity for them. Ha ha. Hee hee. The 9th level soul realm snake demon also laughed sinisterly. This young master died so miserably. Not even a speck of dust is left. What young master? He's just a lowly food. Chapter 8:27. Chu Yang smiled. If I want to kill you all, who can stop me? Given the current situation, it was impossible for Chu Yang to hide his strength. With a buzzing sound, Chu Yang, who was in mid-air, suddenly burst out with dazzling light. He was like a blazing sun hanging in the sky, extremely dazzling. Incomparable energy surged within his body. Pop Chu Yang took a step forward in mid-air, causing ripples to appear in the air. Then, he suddenly moved, boom. There was a huge explosion in the air. Chu Yang's steps seemed to be able to cover a distance of 108,000 miles. He was too fast and instantly arrived at the snake demon's body. Die. The snake demon was completely terrified. It didn't expect Chu Yang's speed to be so fast and so terrifying. He killed it just like that. Chu Yang didn't say anything. His body glowed as he punched out. It was like a blazing sun in the sky. The dazzling light enveloped the snake demon. The snake demon resisted with all its might and did everything it could to resist. However, with a bang, it exploded under Chu Yang's dazzling punch. It didn't have any strength to retaliate and was instantly killed. Chu Yang's punch was too powerful. The light shone in the surroundings like an erupting volcano, covering the surroundings and blasting the snake demon to pieces. There wasn't even a trace of it left. At the moment of its death, the snake demon was in disbelief. How could this be a cultivation base below the soul reincarnation realm? How could it be so terrifying? It couldn't accept this. It was a demonic beast, not a weak human. How could it be so weak? It was just a punch, and its flesh was blasted into pieces. Unfortunately, it didn't have much time to think. The moment its body exploded, its divine soul was sucked into the reincarnation gourd by Chu Yang. The snake demon was killed just like that. It exploded under Chu Yang's punch, causing the crowd of demonic beasts to be speechless. At this moment, Chu Yang's body was glowing even more. It was even more resplendent, suppressing the crowd of demonic beasts. It was as if he was standing in the middle of the sun. It was so dazzling that no one could look at him directly. He was like a small god, shining with dazzling radiance. Just now, his figure was so fast that no one could capture his movements. Only the holy light could intimidate the crowd of demonic beasts. Nine-Spirit King, Winged Tiger King and the others were furious. Just now, they didn't even have time to react. Whoosh! Chu Yang took a step forward and rushed towards the next leopard demon. His radiance illuminated the world. How dare you! Nine-Spirit King, Winged Tiger King, and the others almost went crazy. Chu Yang had just killed the snake demon right under their noses. If they let him kill the leopard demon, not to mention their face, the confidence of the demon army would be completely shaken. Roar! Nine-Spirit King was the first to attack. The 9 lion heads roared at the same time, releasing lion roars. The 9 sound waves were like 9 heavenly swords, piercing through the void and rushing over. The winged tiger monarch also launched an attack. He opened his mouth and spat out a storm of golden weapons. There were sabers, spears, swords, halberds, and all 18 types of weapons. Kai, 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 Kai. The little three-eyed king shot out a black beam and a white beam from its eyes. Like lasers, they pierced towards Chu Yang. Other than the little gold rock king, Princess Fox, and the other demonic beasts all attacked at this moment. The void trembled like a rag. Countless ferocious attacks completely drowned the area. It was extremely terrifying. It was as if the void was about to be completely destroyed. When Chu Yang charged over, the leopard demon immediately transformed into his beast form and rushed towards King Juling and the others. He hid behind King Juling and the others and sneered, "Do you think you can still succeed in your sneak attack just now?" However, the next moment, it was horrified. It saw a monstrous divine light suddenly appear in front of it out of nowhere. It was as if a sun had appeared in the sky. All the fur on its body stood on end. It was terrified. How did this human appear? How can he dodge so many attacks? It was too terrifying. This was too terrifying. The leopard demon was completely trembling. "I can't succeed. I want to kill you. Who can let you live?" Amidst the cold voice, a blinding light smashed down. Roar! The leopard demon roared. It opened its mouth and spat out a blinding sword radiance. It slashed forward like a sword embryo. At the same time, it waved its large claws and erupted with a vast amount of energy. It fought Chu Yang with all its might. However, all of this was futile. That figure that seemed to be wrapped in the sun was even more terrifying than a god of death. He raised his hand and smashed down with a small fist. Boom! Chu Yang only used a single fist. Dazzling light erupted and suppressed the surroundings. It directly blasted the leopard demon into mincemeat. A rain of blood swirled in the air. It was too powerful. Chu Yang killed 2 demonic beasts in front of the crowd. His attack was like the sun in the sky. His divine might was matchless. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,